We stand at a defining hour. Halfway around the world, we are engaged in a great struggle in the skies and on the seas and sands. We know why we're there. We are Americans, part of something larger than ourselves. For 2 centuries, we've done the hard work of freedom, and tonight, we lead the world in facing down a threat to decency and humanity. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Tonight, we work to achieve another victory, a victory over tyranny and savage aggression.
The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
To induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now here are the aims for the United States. 1. Greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2. Higher and then much higher taxes. 3. An increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
I want to give thanks to Bonnie and thanks out to Harry Link at the Truth Broadcast Network.
I got no hat. You get to see my mop top right
Hey,
now.
that's right. You know, something
My
was
dog,
right.
my dog ate my hat.
Dog ate your hat. If this was school, we'd be saying, you know, like, that's it,
Dog
right?
ate my homework. My dog
ate my
hat,
homework, right?
So.
You know? And that's funny because, yeah, that's right. That's your moniker. You have the hat on. Yeah, let me give you some room here for the live stream there. Anyway.
My crazy
Yeah,
hair.
I never saw your hair before. But anyhow, so... it's good to have you back. Got a lot of news going on. I've been
to catch up on.
Yeah, I was really busy and I've been like exhausted, and I'm just happy that I had somehow managed to over the course of the last week put together some of the news. I figured we still have, I mean, a lot of stuff. We have plenty of guests that we have to line up, but we just have to solidify a few things. So we'll be having guests in the future. In fact,
well, I did go to a meeting this morning. With Jim.
We could talk about the Change meeting. Yeah, the We Are Change Connecticut meeting.
Yeah, it was Jim. You know, Jim does a lot of work with the fluoride. It was, you know, he had a lot of brochures, everything for the group. Really, yeah, it's the petitions. I noticed. What did Jim had? Probably like 12 of those petitions filled up already.
That's good.
In your car.
Yeah, you left him in the car.
Yeah, and. You know, Jim's fighting that. He went to the independent party thing. Jim's doing a lot, and you know,
he bangs on the doors, knocks on the doors, and goes.
Because he's the UPS guy, so he'll go and he's got the petitions in the ice cream places and all over. So
it's very brilliant,
really
when you get down to it. And everybody should really look into this whole situation here in the state of Connecticut, in the United States. There is fluoride in the water, pretty much. By mandate as of 1965. Not every community has it, but the larger communities do.
And with Connecticut, he taught us that it's not even like the town thing. It's like basically the state is all as one. So
yeah.
So the petition in Connecticut is you could sign it even if you're not from Waterbury or wherever. It's like this is for the whole state, and you know, we get enough people, it'll be for the whole state, not just the town.
Yeah, I have it going across my place. I'm trying to get everybody in my.
And we have it on the web,
on
We Are
our
Change website. There's the online petition to sign.
WeAreChangeCT.org.
I did that one.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So we'll keep pushing that.
Yeah, it was interesting. He had, you know, his computer with all the files. He's got like 2 terabits of stuff, and you know, he's got so much on the fluoride. It was interesting. I was looking at all the water bottles. It's in like all the foods, everything, even like Pepsi, and you know, it's all there's fluoride in everything, all the water bottles. And then I guess I should add in because you guys taught me something. The guys I was with because I was like, oh well, distilled water would be good, right? But then they were all taught me, and it does make sense. Is distilled, you take out everything, so you're losing all the minerals, vitamins, and distilled water is actually you don't want to drink too much of it after a while. So again, you're kind of trapped into how do you get away from the fluoride, you know, other than to have your own natural spring or something like that.
A well, you could have a well. You have to, you know, you're doing well, you know, wells. But that again, they have
and then you don't know what's
costs,
around. You just got to make sure,
you know, there's
deep enough
costs,
and
you know, associated with wells, well water. But you know, again, they have these filter systems. They're like $1,500. The whole house filter systems, so that filters the water.
Yeah, people think you could boil it. That don't work either. Boiling it don't get the fluoride out.
No, you have to have these type of upgraded water systems. You know, most people can't afford it. I mean, that's, you know, part of the whole thing, and that's why they're doing this. You know, it's part of it.
And all our food and everything is fluoridated. The animals are getting it.
Right. I got a lot of stuff to go over with all these things. We're going to talk about the FDA today. We're going to talk about Obama's executive orders closing down America, basically, and setting up. There's a really, really frightening article here. I think I'll make attention to it.
Go right to that.
Go right to it. It was just posted the other day by a guy named Henry Shively, and it makes some frightening sense. Now, of course, we can't really be. This is like speculative, most of it, but the idea is that we have all of these laws that have just passed, like the NDAA sections 1021 and 1022. HR 347, Trespass Law, Executive Order National Defense Resources Preparedness Act, and the Executive Order Promoting International Regulatory Cooperation. Now that's the one that's scary, because this week coming up, we have NATO is actually meeting in Chicago. We have all of the people from G8 Summit on May 15th through the 22nd. NATO meets in Chicago. And simultaneously on May 18th and May 19th, you have the G8 Summit where leaders of the U.S., Britain, France, Germany, and everyone else are meeting at Camp David under heavy security. But the Russian government has also told the United States that it'll attack missile batteries in Poland if the United States puts missiles there. And the Russians have warned the U.S. that any Israeli or U.S. attacks on Syria would result in retaliation. Yet, May 24th through the 31st, Russian paratroop units, complete with Russian ground support units, will be conducting operations in Colorado. Now, I don't know what to make of that, but it's factual and it's true. So again, we're going on speculation here. I'm not a fearmonger. I don't want to get
Russian troops in Colorado.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this whole Red Dawn thing, but it is pretty freaky that that's actually where Red Dawn happened and all of that other stuff. Or a similar area, but you can't really deny the reality that this is occurring all at once. And I found that to be very disturbing. My friend Chris at work said you should be like doing a whole show on this. We should just spend the whole show on this. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. But it is setting the stage for interesting things. Now, the article here, which you can Google, is called "The State is Set for UN Gun Confiscations Via Invasion into the U.S." So it's the stage is set. Yeah. So they're setting the stage for this because here is the truth. Again, this is like we're going right into the meat of it, but why not? It turns out that we have 100,000 trained Mexican troops, trained troops, that are presently down on the southern border and are being identified as quote-unquote Mexican drug cartel members. Okay? But they're not. And since the beginning of 2012, the insurgents within our own government have put in place the NDAA, as we know, and all of these other things. Now we're bringing in all of the elements to bring the United States under control of an international dictatorship implemented through the United Nations. And they are actually all in place. Now it just is scary that you have NATO's meeting in Chicago. You have now the United States being cut in half through this Canadian National Railway is owned by the Canadian government, but the Burlington...
Is that the one where it goes from Mexico all the way up to Canada?
Well, yeah, if you look at actually, for those that are watching,
about that one.
if you look at the United States here, in Canada, the rail links that are over here on... up there in Canada and cuts across the center of well, it's not really the center of America.
Like Ohio or something?
Well, if you look, it cuts through directly to the port of in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So it cuts across the entire North America. Mm-hmm. Now, this particular, interestingly enough, the Canadian portion is owned by the Canadian International Elitist Investors. It's privately owned, and guess who owns the United States portion?
Rockefeller?
Close. Another minion or another person, like a front person, like J.P. Morgan was a front person for the Rothschilds. Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett.
Wow.
So the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad is wholly owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And in 1999, Burlington Northern Santa Fe and the Canadian National Railway announced their intention to merge and form a new corporation entitled North American Railways, to be headquartered in Montreal, and the United States Surface Transportation Board placed a 15-month memorandum on all rail mergers, which ended this merger. So right now, the Burlington North Santa Fe Railroad directly owns and operates track in 27 states, and it also operates a small amount of track in Canada, including approximately a 30-mile wide section that runs from the U.S.-Canada border to Vancouver, and a yard in Winnipeg and other things like that. But what's important about this is that when you add all of these things up, like back in March, U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta stated in a Senate Armed Services meeting, on record, that he will carry out UN military directives without the consent of our Congress. Now, we have troops from foreign countries doing exercises on our land. If that doesn't disturb anybody, or, you know, I mean, I guess I must just be a conspiracy theorist, I don't know, or an alarmist. But I mean, it's one of the most alarming things that I've noticed, that how it's been going from all of these things, one after the other. And of course, the Obama's new executive order, which is the executive order promoting international regulatory cooperation, means that if the UN adopts a gun control or gun confiscation,
then it goes for us too.
Then it goes for us too. So
good luck with that, UN.
Yeah, I know it is good luck, but it'll also open up the what would be a civil war. I mean, I think that's ultimately, unfortunately, I think they really want a violent conflict as much as we want to stop that. And
the only way they're going to get the guns is through violence, because people ain't going to just hand them over.
Well,
I don't care what the UN or anyone says.
well, no, look, let's face it. You've got an awful lot. I mean, I know a whole bunch of people down here in town. I call them the morning guys at AC's Eatery. I'll give a shout out to them in Torrington, Connecticut. Great place for breakfast. But a lot of these guys, you know, are awake. Some of them, but the old timers are just, you know, they're just set into their thought patterns. They just can't really. They, you know, basically think I'm nuts. But I go down there from time to time, you know, and I have a couple of friends there, and I know the owners, and we talk. And it's really interesting to see the perspective of the veterans. They're very proud of their country that they fought for, you know. And then when you get into the realities that you know, even World War II, ladies and gentlemen, was fought for under completely fabricated principles. Everything was all promulgated through
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. Well, I mean, even the Nazi rise couldn't have happened if it wasn't for these bankers. Okay, so the bankers are really behind all of this evil in the world, and they blame these puppets. So even as much as Hitler had all this power and control and did what had his agenda, and he was in control of it, he was financed by these people. Yeah. He couldn't have done anything without them. In fact, if it wasn't for the Standard Oil using IG Farben allowing them to use a patent to turn coal into gasoline, that they used slave labor to do the labor to churn. It's a synthetic process. Yes, yeah. And I mean, this is all on record. This is all stuff they don't talk about. The fact that, that through Anthony Sutton's book, that it's true that the Council on Foreign Relations and all of the have been really pretty much set up to bring in a world government, and that they it comes from the Skull and Bones is the head sort of like quarters of the
CIA
the CIA comes out of it, and learning an awful lot about the CIA lately through some interesting conversations.
And Pearl Harbor, I like to throw in, because that really was like, you know, like the 9/11 of that, and how a lot of people don't know, like, where FDR and them were really putting all these sanctions and really pushed Japan into it. You know, Japan definitely didn't want to take us on, and it was sanctions, and it was us doing things, basically backing them into a corner.
Well, and then their own generals thought it was, their own admirals thought it was.
Yeah, don't wake the sleeping giant.
Don't. This is a mistake.
But we forced them to, and then we basically leave like older ships and things unprotected, and just leave it there and wait for them, and that's, you know, that's the big thing.
There's a lot of intelligence that we knew. We had broken their code long before Pearl Harbor, so wouldn't it be?
It was staged.
Wouldn't it be fair to say that we knew that it was coming?
And we forced it to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously through the sanctions. It's the same thing that they're doing, like with Iran. You know, with the same idea of trying to choke them. You know, through various embargoes.
Yeah, cutting off the
to try to
canal.
to try to put chips there to intimidate them into war, into shooting the first shot. This is nothing new. And again, it's promulgated through the Council on Foreign Relations. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And they are again sort of they're sort of the think tank putting together all the plans for this world order.
Them and the trilateral.
Yeah,
right?
they work
like
together.
Under
Trilateral was put together because they wouldn't allow Japan and the Asians. They sort of had some problems with them being part of the Council on Foreign Relations. It was some sort of
some races.
The Rockefellers wanted them, and some, I guess, I don't know, for some reason there was reason to separate it into that quadrant. But now we know there's three sections of the order. You have the Anglo and the Eastern America, and then Europe, and then Asia. That's pretty much the breakdown of how they're quadrang off their power. And if you look at the Bilderberg meetings, which are, by the way, interestingly enough, all this stuff's happening at the same time. Bilderberg is never in May, and it's the Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, well,
very unusual, and it's of course in the United States, in Chantilly, Virginia, because every 4 years when there's an American election,
that's when
Bilderberg happens to be here. Did anyone ever think about that?
So they'll be picking who's the next president. They pick the next president. A couple days.
All right, that's part of this whole
Obama,
thing.
You get to go again.
Hey, I'm glad to see a lot of all the people around here.
So who do you think? I haven't been watching. Is it going to be Obama or Mittens next?
Well, you know, Mittens,
Obama, right?
Mittens, you know, it's just crazy. It's Robama, you know.
Yeah. So it's going to be Obama again.
It doesn't really matter.
No, I know that, but I'm asking what your opinion. Who do you think's going to...
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I can't... I mean, as far as getting the nomination, it's interesting.
No, I mean, who you think's going to win. I mean, I was thinking that Obama was doing so bad and they would just put in a puppet like Romney to do it, but I think Obama's going to win again.
Well, I mean, it looks like you know, they seem to want him. You know, there's no doubt about that. They're not making it hard. They're not making it easy for anything else. But they seem.
And
to
yes, I agree. Neither one matters. It's the same thing.
Really, neither one matters. That's right. To get real change, you have to have real change. You have to stop this corporate control of government. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about with all this stuff. I mean, you got the defense secretary now backing the UN. This was all set up. I mean, in 1921, when they put this whole thing together at the Council on Foreign Relations. That's what it is. It's not foreign relations. It's bringing in the world government with using all the foreign, and then the international affairs. The Royal Institute of International Affairs is the British end of it.
Chatham House.
Chatham House, exactly. And who else is? You know, the publishers too, by the way. It's also under Rita Zellweger, Chatham House. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough. Well, what else? Yeah, my favorite corporation or holding company. Somebody actually wrote a post on one of the rants I did on it and wrote, "You don't know anything about how corporations work. That's just how business is." I was like, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's how it works. So anyway, about this whole thing, you got Russian ground troops doing operational activities in Colorado between May 24th and May 31st. You got Mexican troops that are called drug cartels that are actively hanging out there. You've got a clear, determined federal government that people are leaving. The Mexican illegal aliens are leaving Mexico.
I was going to ask if you heard about that.
Oh yeah, they're running back to Mexico.
I think that's great. I think that's so funny.
You know, and because there's no work here. And that
the economy's getting better.
We should.
You know what the TV says?
Well, you know, we should be happy, and that these people that are the ones that'll stay are going to be good, and all that, and la la la. And meanwhile, they're going after that for civil rights violations. They're going after the what's his name, the Arizona sheriff.
Arpaio.
Yeah, Arpeggio, whatever. Arpaio, yeah, whatever his name is. And, you know, focusing on that and not the fact that they're just milking us with this, you know, I mean, everybody should be paying their own fair share, and these people, of course, are not even contributing to the system at all. They're just taking off of it for their own personal needs. It's just terrible. I personally feel it's bad. I mean, go through the system. If you can't get through the system, then I'm sorry.
That's the thing. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
I personally, I stick up for them a little because they would. I mean, they would love to, day one, be in the system and not have to worry about problems, but they're not allowed to. So
not the way
government,
that they make it.
Like everything we talk about, they kind of set up this dirty system and then get us to kind of like get mad at them and they're mad at us.
Yeah.
But they set it up, and I will say let's also talk about if we didn't like have our foot on the throat of Mexico. I mean, they have a lot of resources that nobody likes to talk about. Mexico could be doing good, but they don't because of us. So let's, you know, if you're going to starve another country and then the people are coming running over to get some food, I don't get mad at the people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I understand about that because they just want a better life.
Yeah. I mean, they go through brutal stuff. You know, I have personal experience. Waterbury, everyone who knows me, I live with, you know, the Spanish community, and I worked with a lot of them. And I've heard the horror stories and how much they spend. I mean, the one guy told me.
They get ripped off being.
I think it was about
in,
like
you know.
14,000 and sitting in trucks, and then you get caught and you get sent back, or you paid for your wife and she got caught and sent back, and you lose all the money, and you know.
It's a racket.
Yeah,
it's a racket.
And you know what? Those people aren't looking. Those people are doing all that to then go and work, too. That, you know what I mean? Those guys are going and standing at Home Depot and doing all these things to work. You know, so. I kind of feel bad for them more than get mad at them, you know. I'm mad at the system.
Well, the system certainly isn't as appealing or as open
these
to
problems.
it. Yeah, it does sort of set up the problems.
It's designed to do it, you know. You know what I'm saying? What you got there?
Looks like around the world in Europe, more than 200,000 people thronged a Berlin rally back in 2008 to hear Obama. Remember that? But now they're saying that they're pretty much disappointed with him in general. In Mogadishu, a former teacher wishes he had sent more economic assistance and fewer armed drones to fix Somalia's problems. And many in the Middle East wonder what became of Obama's vow in a landmark 2009 speech at the University of Cairo, where he said he was going to forge a closer relationship with the Muslim world. In a world weary of war and economic crises.
And then they see him with AIPAC.
and blowing up people and freeing them, like freeing the people in Libya from the tyrant Gaddafi, while J.P. Morgan Chase takes all the gold.
Takes all his gold, yeah.
And then they lose $200 million. Right? Yeah, that was it. In derivatives. That just hit the 2 days ago. They lost like 17% of their market share, market value. So it's just, you know, that's all happening now. I had an article on that, but I mean, there is people are realizing this. People had high hopes for him, you know. But they're changing their opinion. His rock star-like reception at Berlin's Victory Column was a high point, and it was like that.
Where it looked like Hitler talking.
And not only that, what's frightening, what really bothered me the most about that was, again, they're setting this thing to have no borders, that this is the world, you know, and he is the president of the world. And that was
a New World Order speech, definitely.
He was not
all about one world government. That speech.
He was not. He wasn't even the president.
Well, Bilderberg, I think, already decided that, right?
But it wasn't the president. He was running for president. Now, which presidential candidate campaigns for office in a foreign country? Think about it. It's frightening. And
same one that was born in another country, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Born in Kenya, you know. Okay, let's slam on Obama a little more. So he signs executive order declaring U.S. to follow international regulations. I mentioned that. And the danger of this is that it ties closely with other executive orders, which basically states that if the United Nations declares an order to be enforced or makes a law, that we will enforce it and sign on to it. It requires to submit a regulatory plan pursuant to executive order, included that a plan of its international regulatory cooperation activities that are reasonably anticipated to lead to significant regulations, with an explanation of how these activities advance the purpose of Executive Order 13563 and this order, which is just more bullshit, basically legalese, just to confuse everybody. But all it means is that we can say they don't have to go to Congress, and they can just do anything the United Nations wants. So basically, it's the end of America, and if we allow that to happen, we deserve the tyranny that will follow. Obama now is his own doctors slamming Obamacare as a failure, and he believes that the health care plan is a failure, and because of runaway costs and other problems. In fact, Obama's longtime physician reveals the lack of humanity in Obama's character and carelessness with which he enacted the entire politicized health insurance reform, the Patent Protection and Affordable Care Act, often called Obamacare. Yeah, we know about that. And then while this is happening, the bioterrorism bill is gridlocked in Congress, and I'm sort of almost happy that it is. Nearly 4 years after they mandated the commission that a bioterrorism event poses the greatest threat to the nation, and of course it does, and it scares the hell out of me, because if you ask me if they were going to do anything really bad, I would say the bioterrorism is certainly up that alley there. Bob Graham, Senator Bob Graham, who led the Weapons of Mass Destruction Committee, said people build their careers around these committees of targeted influence. And certainly, considering it's a large bill that's been out there since 2008, and Graham, 22 federal agencies are involved, including the Department of Homeland Security.
I honestly think that's what's going to be what's
yeah, me
coming.
Too. It scares me the most.
If I had to pick, like, you know, natural or whatever, aliens, I think there's going to be a virus
it's
or
bioterrorism. That's what it's going to be.
You know, and they put it in the movies. There's so much, I think, pointing to that.
I hear something on that mic there. Is there anything in the background there? It's not me.
That guy has.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby! What the hell is that? Bobby, your mic is on. I don't know what that is, but certainly noisy as hell. All right.
Okay. Is he vacuuming during our show?
I don't know. Could be. But certainly we'll just have to deal with it for a moment. Try to call out there. I don't think he realizes that his mic is still on. Anyway, that really scares me, the bioterrorism.
Yes, me too. That's what I think is going to happen.
You know, and then they have all this weird stuff. What about the Al-Qaeda underwear bombing plot?
Another underwear bombing plot?
Yeah, you didn't hear about this? You've been in the woods. That's right, I forgot. All right. The Associated Press has learned that the CIA thwarted a plot by Al-Qaeda affiliate in Yemen to destroy a U.S.-bound airliner using a bomb with a new design around the one-year anniversary of the killing of Osama bin Laden. And, of course, the plot involved the upgrade of the underwear bomb, and it failed to abort. Bobby, your mic is on. It's very loud, whatever it is. Anybody, you listening there? I guess not. Wow, whatever that is loud, I'll tell you that much. Certainly noisy.
Maybe we should lower Can we lower his
We,
thing?
we can. It's his broadcast there. So anyway, he's added us to that. It looks like he stopped, or maybe.
Well, since I've been in the woods, like you were saying.
Yeah, you've been in the woods.
Can
You
we
didn't-
take what's like, you know? Can we talk about the servers or like what's going on? I didn't get to hear everything. So
Well, I'm still in
the
the
audience probably knows more than I do. Probably.
Yeah, they probably do. We're in the process. Roger Landry is in the process of getting us new servers to secure servers to work with for the shows. I just been busy as well trying to get everything together. And again, Bobby's been helping us. And hey, Bobby, are you out there? He probably, I don't know if he has the volume might be down, but his mic is certainly hot. So I'm hearing all that background stuff, if that's what it is.
So anything new with that situation? Is like anything with Truth War? Is he...
I haven't heard anything from the detective. We are trying to see if we can get some more information about it. I know that the arraignment is in June, so it's coming up.
Good.
You know, they got a lot of evidence, and they're moving in this direction. I haven't spoken to him about what happened.
How's Ronnie doing?
The detective, that is, this week. I spoke to Ronnie. I haven't spoken to her since the last show, and
Okay.
she's doing all right. She did mention, you know, we tried to connect, but it's difficult because the timings in the way our schedules are during the week, and she's in Australia, which is a
How's her show been going?
good. It comes right on. Yeah,
Bobby,
she'll probably come on a little bit before. She did the
cool.
last couple of times that since you were gone, and we of course went over the whole thing in detail. We posted it all up there on the internet about everything that happened. Don't want to rehash that whole thing again, but
Yeah, I'll have to watch it.
yeah, it's certainly good that it happened as far as getting somebody that's potentially dangerous
Definitely.
to be addressed.
And it was tough not to talk about it. Like,
It was very tough, and then there were attacks.
Yes. Whatever happened with that
Ronnie,
unnamed, that nameless woman.
yeah, Madam X. Well, Madam X, Ronnie's not trying. She's not. She's going to continue to pursue actions against her because of this. It's been very, very affecting to her, and she's very upset. And she should be. I mean, after all, I don't even understand it. I mean, all we're trying to do is, again, get our information out, talk to people like we've been doing. This was obviously out of left field. It certainly put a big distraction into everything.
Yeah.
Took focus away from what we were doing, and it needed to be done. I mean, you can't deny it, but it wasn't easy to continue moving along those few weeks that we had to do broadcasts and really
Keep quiet for the police.
Yeah, for the police, so that they can continue doing what they were doing, so there would be no problems in obtaining the warrants that they needed. And
obviously it worked because
it worked.
He was arrested
without having to. I mean, they have to find something to arrest him, so they obviously found something. So I mean, again, I with anyone, just like what we're talking about, you give the man should have the benefit of the doubt as much as we might have our personal feelings about it. I mean, that is the way.
Now there's nobody in chat.
Bobby, are you there? Hello, Bobby. I just heard you chatting there. I don't know. I don't know if he's listening.
He's got us muted and not him.
He might have us muted on the sound, but I don't know. Well, it's certainly his own mic at least, but just continuing on here. So anyway, I want to give you thanks out there, Bobby. I did hear you making your dinner there, or something you were cooking there, or something. Opening some cans or something, a warehouse, yeah. But we got this whole thing now with another CIA being patted on the back for catching somebody, and then last week they had somebody that was these backwoods kids that were given a bomb to blow up a bridge in Mississippi or someplace I don't know, some.
Got to keep the fear going.
They got to keep that fear going, and that was pretty heavy. Chemicals from the printer bombs are being used again. That's happening. And they're using that again in the bombs. So now what they found these printer bombs some months ago in a cargo plane, and that was the same chemical that was being used in this particular new occurrence, which is interesting, right? So they're saying it's the same people, they're tying it to the same people, which I'm sure it is the same people. Most definitely. Al-Qaeda bomb maker designs bombs to hide in cameras, hard drives, and pets. So now they're going to start sewing them into pets, you know, and having them eat the bombs, or surgically implanting them. They've been talking about this.
Now the pets need naked body scanners.
Yeah, they're going to have to naked body scan the pets now too.
They're going to pet your pet, pet your pet down.
It's just, it's getting out of control. Everything is all about keeping you safe. The Al-Qaeda underwear bomber is again another foiled false flag, which is really pretty much the truth. The FBI currently has possession of this bomb and is conducting technical and forensic analysis on it. It's very similar to the ones that have been previously used by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and in attempted terrorist attacks, so it's not unlikely that they just, again, it's Al-Qaeda who's most likely behind this. And now, of course, the guy comes out to be a double agent. Did I tell you that?
No.
Oh, yeah. The one that came out and revealed this was a double agent. On May 8th, the New York Times headline, "Rare Double Agent Disrupted Bombing Plot." It's most likely double dealing. Officials lie and misreporting, of course, but this is what they said. And now the agent is back in Saudi Arabia, and the CIA, of course, they said CIA agents were involved. What's true or false isn't really clear, but, well, you can use your own speculation on that. And he was an undercover agent, a would-be suicide attacker in a foiled underwear bomb plot, was an undercover agent. Okay, so put the pieces together now.
Just like a SWAT.
It's just like what they did with in FBI when they did with 1993 bombing. When they said, "Here, we're going to give you the bomb," and then he said, "Well, wait a minute, I'm not comfortable with this if it's real." No, we want it to be real.
And he recorded them.
And he recorded them and caught them. So, I mean, this is what this is even better. Listen, you're going to say that you're going to blow these people up and then say you're a double agent. Hey, that's great. That's an easy black op there. Okay, let's do it. Very, very cunning, yes. So, yes, he was an undercover agent. And, of course, FBI Director Mueller, whose father was a Nazi, whose father really was a Nazi, Robert Mueller told congressional hearing that that this particular Arabian Peninsular Al-Qaeda, the AQAP, posed the most serious terrorist threat to the United States. That's what he said Wednesday.
Oh yeah, I'm scared of him.
I'm really scared too. I'm terrified of the drone attacks. It's really the drone attacks. That's what these people are all saying. Like what I was just saying in the earlier
bring
part.
it up, man.
With Somalia, they said, stop helping us with drone attacks. You know,
you bring up the drones. I've been looking up in the sky, man, and there's some, like, I feel like almost half the planes I'm seeing look like drones out there. And it was last night, I was sitting under a canopy at my girl's place, and I heard, like, you'll hear a plane, and in just a couple seconds you'll hear the room. I'm listening, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, and I just hear, and it's getting louder and louder, and then after a couple seconds I'm like, it's not even going away, it's getting louder, what the hell is this? So I go out from under, and I'm like looking up in the sky, and I see this thing, I swear it looks like it was like up in the stars. Like you could barely see it. Like if you were just to look real quick, you wouldn't see it. You had to like focus in, and you seen this thing barely just moving through the sky. And just this crazy loud sound. And then just drone after drone just flying in the same direction. And I'm just like, and then in the day it's real easy to see them. And I just look, and they'll be like right next to each other. Now when planes are flying, I mean, you're not supposed to really like be right on top of each other. I mean, it was like, if you were looking in the sky, it was just like a couple inches away from each other. Same path going, two planes, and it's like the all white, and those ones are like almost soundless. And,
I haven't seen any of these.
Oh man, all the time I'm looking, and I keep like, and they're not spraying like the chemtrails. These like don't do any trails or nothing, but it's these white, like I keep thinking they're like the flying drones or something. And they're just going over. They're not spraying anything, but they're going over and over, and a lot of them. And I'm like waiting for bioterrorism to fall out of them.
I don't know. Who the hell knows what they're doing?
What's
but
going
there's
on.
so much black stuff going on that we don't know about.
But I don't know. I think there's flying drones right here in Connecticut.
It doesn't surprise me. Now you got this Al-Qaeda thing. People talking about Al-Qaeda with all about not negotiating. So they have this guy's hostage. His name is Warren Weinstein. He's 7 years old, and he pleaded to Obama to...
Oh, I did hear about that. Someone told me about that.
They said, we're not going to deal with terrorists. We're not going to negotiate. So they'll probably cut this guy's head off, you know, like they did with the Daniel Pearl. Remember the couple of people they cut their heads off for good propaganda,
Nick
and then
Berg
it stopped.
was another.
Yeah, then it stopped. That was it. I mean, you know,
Just enough to get the fear.
to get the fear and the people riled up for war.
Yeah.
It's so like basic. It's almost elementary. But you're under a mind control. You're under a saying that, you know, you really believe that everything you're getting is accurate, good information, and these
It's
people
just
are out to help
propaganda.
you, and you know, this is for patriotism, and you know, not for any other reason. So you know, we're definitely in that situation, and unfortunately, they don't tell you a lot of things that happen in the United States that are happening around the world, and you don't really know. They show you what they want you to see, the world they want you to see. Like in Palestine, or I should say in Israel, the Palestinians are 6 Palestinian prisoners on a hunger strike, and they don't really talk about that either. So it's pretty bad.
What is this now?
They're on the 74th day of a hunger strike for administrative detainees, and pretty much they're fearing that, you know, basically violence if they die. But you don't hear about this. They're because of this, basically the conditions that these activists are trying to get 1,600 Palestinians to join a smaller hunger strike. They're trying to, you know, raise awareness through hunger strikes. You know, I mean, remember Bobby Sands and in the 70s?
Yeah, well, look, that's why
The
they show
80s,
those famous videos. You see the little kids throwing rocks at the tanks. It's because what do they don't have any way to stand up to
Well,
Israel.
first of all, they took all their guns away. So
What are they going to do other than throw rocks and, I guess, protest and stuff? I mean, it's horrible. I hate it over there.
It really is. It's terrible, and you know, I don't want to bash Israel because it's not the people, and we keep going over this. It's just this tyrannical government. You know, it's just.
But yeah, that's horrible. I mean, what are they supposed to do though? I mean,
So you
how
can
could
imagine
they
in
stop
America
that?
if 1,600 Americans went on a hunger strike. You know what would? Oh my God! You know, how could that be? You know, how could that? What would happen with that? So it's just unbelievable. So. Other than that, we've been pretty much talking about a lot of news. And you know, I just got my garden together.
Did you?
Yeah, I just finished planting.
Nice.
So we'll have some a couple of months. We'll have a little bit of a crop.
What are you growing out there?
I'm growing tomatoes. Let's see, tomatoes, basil, celery.
Nice.
2 kinds of lettuce.
There's an ass lettuce.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. What else? Zucchini. Yeah, I love zucchini. Yellow and squash and
Good.
yeah. So should be a pretty good harvest there.
I got my seeds from Hank.
Bobby, are you joining us? Are you there? Hi, Bob. Your mic is on. I've just been hearing you. I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to chime in on.
I'm sorry, Howard. Yeah.
That's okay.
No, that's cool. Go ahead.
we were listening to you out there, so I figured maybe you hadn't realized you had your mic on. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
So, is the food that we eat killing us?
Yes. It's about how long I had to think about it.
Well, think about this. This was an interesting article I read from the Economic Collapse, which is a great site.
Well, like I was saying before, even the food and everything, the animals are getting fluoride.
Let's talk about it.
They get human growth hormone. It's called bovine is the actual name of the steroid they give them. Substandard antibiotics.
Yep.
Cows eating corn when actually they eat grass, but they got to eat corn to get fat and it's cheaper. Right? Corn is subsidized in this country. That put all the corn farmers out of Mexico and the islands and everything.
Yep.
And we feed salmon and cows and everything corn.
Yes, and corn syrup. Americans are absolutely addicted to foods that are loaded with sugar and corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup, which causes all sorts of medical problems. And then you have the GMO food. But this was really interesting because it goes over some good statistics. And that was that in 1996, only about 2% of all soybeans in the United States were genetically modified. Again, this is stuff that they feed to livestock, mostly. And today, about 90% of all soybeans are genetically modified. And at this point, approximately 70% of all processed foods in our grocery stores contain at least one ingredient that has been genetically modified. So this is, of course, one of the reasons why Americans have shifted to an organic diet, because nobody really knows what the long-term health effects of eating all the genetically modified food will be. But there are some things that we do know. If you drink large amounts of soda, you gain weight and all that. It's really bad for you, and it's likely to damage your health. And of course, when you go into the other things about obesity, you have all of the sugar and fats, which are, I mean, look at the calories and the sodium that they put on these products. It's like outrageous. I mean, sodium levels are like on soup. It's like 1,200 milligrams of sodium. You know how much sodium that is? That's just outrageous. And it's okay. It's safe. The FDA says it's safe. So you got to listen to the FDA. They know everything. They go out there and they, instead of, this is all safe, but raw milk, no, we're going to close down the raw milk farm and the raw cheese. We're going to go after the small farmer. Going to put him out of business.
I actually got to see some Amish.
Oh, you
recently.
Did? Cool, when you were up in the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
There was some Amish, yeah. There's a whole community where I was looking around. They're just so cool. They're in their buggies. I seen them in their buggies. And,
yeah.
They all look the same, still doing the things, wearing the same clothes and everything. I found out something. I think it's... I think they have a beard, like once they get married or something, they're allowed to have beard. It was like a couple weird rules that were interesting. Now I forgot already, but, they're cool. And weren't the Amish the ones getting raided, right?
Yes, they were mostly Amish, the ones with the milk raids. Especially in New York. They would go down to New York City to sell their milk, and oh my God, that's like a felony. I mean, it's a felony to sell milk.
Well, you can't, give good milk to the prisoners. They got to have their GMO and shot out cows.
Again, it's like exhausting to just keep going over this. It seems like we're like it's a broken record, Vinny. But look at this. Then here's what it is. So they give you all this really bad food that over time makes everybody overweight, and that's why everyone since 1980, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, healthcare costs accounted for only 9.5% of all personal consumption in 1980. So less than 10% of your cost. Today they account for 16.3%. That's a big rise. And they continue to rise above the rate of inflation. And of course, healthcare insurance premiums, we all know how ridiculous they are. And they've gone faster than the wages. Why? Because there's so many people that are eating this food and they're out of shape. And it's like, oh, it's because of your lifestyle and all this. Well, a lot of it has to do with the food. And then when you get sick, then you have to take drugs. Prescription drugs.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this right here.
Go ahead.
Look at that. According to the CDC, the percentage of Americans that report to have taken at least one prescription drug within the past 30 days has risen to almost 50%.
Almost
half the people.
Half of the people. Almost half of the
taken a
Americans
prescription drug in the past month.
In the last month. That's
and then
right.
the next one's even better. In fact, 31% of Americans say they have taken at least 2 prescription drugs within the last 30 days, and 11% have taken at least 5 prescription drugs within the past 30 days.
That's right.
That's crazy.
And we're all, of course, getting sicker, right? Not really healthier. We're obese and heart disease. And fluoride causes arterial sclerosis. It causes heart disease, among other things. It causes bone cancer.
Vaccines and everything.
And now
like
at least the FDA is finally
record.
doing a little... It is a broken record.
Vaccines, food, chemtrails.
Same thing. But they finally came out there that these bone treatments aren't really working, like Boniva and the other ones, and the FDA has no choice. I mean, they can't. First they back something, and then as soon as they're put into the corner where it's really caught for being bad, then they say, "Oh, it's bad." And that's how they do it. This is what they do. They do with all the drugs that goes on. Don't you remember that the Center for Disease Control said that for 20 years said smoking has nothing to do with cancer. It doesn't cause lung cancer. 20 years they were pounding that, and just like they say now that vaccines do not cause autism. So it's really sort of outrageous. Hey, Vinny, go on this. I gotta see who that is. But, yeah. Just keep going with the GMO thing here.
What was I gonna say then? Well, what should I talk about with the food? Well, one of the things I guess I'll talk about was with what they do to animals. We were talking about genetically modified organisms with corn and this and that, and I was going to talk about the cows to add something to it. Besides what they're shot up with, when you're getting that, it's like all this processed meat, which I guess you know, people have been talking about the pink slime and the percentage of filler. All there needs to be is 33% beef, and all the rest could be filler crap, and they could still call it beef. But then another thing that I found out is when mad cow and all these diseases were coming out, because you got these cows sitting in their feces and you know, all these things they're being shot up with, they get the diseases, a lot of them, and all that. You know, you get a burger, there's probably 100 different cows in that burger, that 33% of that burger. And then what they do is, instead of, you know, making the standards better for the cows, what they did is, to destroy mad cow and everything, they just start spraying them with ammonia and things like that. Now it's like
the meat has ammonia.
Yeah, so think about that. Even after all that's done, when you're eating this, yeah, you ain't getting mad cow, I guess, but you ain't getting no vitamins or anything like that either, I would imagine. So to me, it's like, what, you just eating like cardboard that looks like a burger?
Yeah.
Because you're not getting any nutrients or nothing if they're spraying it with ammonia and doing all this. The steroids and everything's just there, so there's more weight and the cow's bigger, so they get more money off of it. And
Monsanto's behind all of these shots and everything, and the head of the FDA is Monsanto's own Michael R. Taylor, who's now frighteningly close to becoming the head of the entire organization, including the drug portion, which is like just frightening to put him in charge of everything. I mean, Monsanto. You got Monsanto. You got General Electric. You got Goldman Sachs and the bankers and the Federal Reserve bankers. I mean, these are the people that are running the show. I mean, it's
crazy.
It is really crazy. So yeah, and it's not even over with this. You know, you keep talking about this other stuff. It's just unbelievable. And then, of course, the oceans, because now it's saying because of all this other packaging and stuff, the oceans have small plastic fragments, 100 times more than they did 40 years ago. It's terrible. You know, they got to reject these type of foods that are bad. I mean, you try to grow your own food. Like I said, I'm trying to at least get off the. I don't eat GMO if I can help it. You know, I don't try not to eat anything processed.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, every once in a while you want to go and have a Five Guys burger. You know what it is? Five Guys burgers and fries. Yeah, I gotta admit, I got a hankering for that every once in a while.
Yeah, I
you know,
love
everybody,
burgers,
you know,
man,
or
but
you know, but God knows.
I
Well, they say it's
100%
beef.
One in a while.
They said it's 100% beef, though.
Oh yeah, it just got sprayed down with ammonia, probably.
I don't know, but it is. They are good. I'll tell you that much. You're gonna have any. You know, my wife's a vegetarian, and you know, I don't think I can ever go that complete route. But we do buy cage-free chicken because my son does. My son doesn't. He eats chicken, and we.
When you buy the eggs, right? Like the free range, it's called, right?
Yeah, free range eggs, and the chickens too.
And actual brown eggs. That's what eggs really are. I found out. So I didn't even realize that eggs weren't white until like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, you know, part of the control, get everything under control, and while the Club of Rome reports that we are doomed, the global citizens at the Club of Rome are warning that if we don't allow government to scale back civilization, we're doomed. This is from the Club of Rome, Limits to Growth in 1972. They said the present growth trends in world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continue unchanged. The limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. Well, that's what they're saying. Now it's getting closer, so mankind may face extinction. We're going to be extinct if it fails to change its ways, the Club of Rome said this week. Reports German publication Deutsche Welle. Short-sighted political and economic models are the problem. The Club of Rome report states that both economic and population growth will stagnate within the next 40 years without a change of tack on the part of governments. And they believe they need a system of governance that takes a more long-term view to population needs. So it's pretty much all they do is they talk about depopulating the earth. Humanity has overshot Earth's resources. Oh, listen to this. We already live in a manner that cannot be continued for generations without major change. Humanity has overshot the Earth's resources, and in some cases we can see local collapse before 2052. We are emitting twice as much greenhouse gas every year as can be absorbed by the world's forests and oceans. back to the whole thing pushing this global warming bullshit.
I just don't believe carbon dioxide being this big
It's totally
problem.
Neo-Malthusian shit. You know, it's just all this. You know, again, you know, we're a disease. You know, Committee of 300 and the Bilderberg Group is they're all interlocking members of the Club of Rome, who've been talking about this since they were founded in 1968.
Yeah, it's from day one about
depopulation.
Right? Wasn't that the Iron Mountain report and all that? It all has to be, you know.
They have a lot. I mean, it also goes to the, you know, to the founders. They were all about dealing with, like Jacques Cousteau says, we should. He said we should kill 350,000 people a day, every day, forever, forever. That'll, you know, that's what we need to do. It's as terrible as that might sound. It would be more terrible not to do it, is what he said, quote unquote. Everybody loves Jacques Cousteau, right? Because they made you love him on TV. Oh, he was that nice old man that would go down in the water. Yeah, oh, yeah. The oceanographer. You know, and then you look who owns all of these magazines, you know, that you like National Geographic, that you put to Hard and Time Magazine. And it starts to make a little more sense, everybody. Start putting together the pieces. They're all the same players, and all they want to do is get rid of most of us. They don't need us all. That's why they want to sicken us. But they want to profit from, they want us to pay for our own demise, and they want to profit from it. As we're dying, they want to profit from our demise slowly.
And if you're not dying, you could just go work for them.
And work yourself. And then if you get hurt, really, you're sort of useless. And in most cases, and depending upon where you are or position you have, if you really do become disabled, you pretty much put on a welfare system. If you can't work, you're on the welfare system. And most people that are obviously looking to work, and the last thing they want to do is be disabled. But I know people that are disabled and they can't work, and it's a shame because they would love to work, but they can't, and they get their, you know, $1,200 a month. I mean, could you live on $1,200 a month? I mean, $1,200 a week is even a stretch in this economy. So I don't know, and I've had friends that in fact in my own family. Well, there was a lawsuit, but and fortunately it's working out properly. But my own brother-in-law was out of work on workers' comp for like a year and a half, and they were withholding money from him for like a year and a half. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, no income at all for a year and a half, at all. He couldn't work. I mean, he really was disabled. So what do they, you know, this is the things that they don't really talk about. They talk about, you know, food stamps. They talk about,
yeah,
you know,
how much they do for you.
How much they do for you, and they give. But with the people that really need it, they never make the news that they're, you know, look at this situation. Until there's just so many that they can't hide it. Like the whole thing with the housing collapse. How could you hide the fact that millions of people lost their homes? How can you hide it? How can you hide the fact that in the last 4 years, I think 4 million jobs have been created or something like that? Net jobs. I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, or it's a small figure. I mean, in 4 years. I mean, I know that the numbers are somewhere at this point, you know, it's shaky to say, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 or to 500,000 jobs created a month when you have 18 million out of work. I think they said for a healthy economy, you need 250,000 jobs created a month. You know, again, I
don't know.
Whose numbers you believe?
Exactly,
the numbers are all they're all so far fetched.
Yeah, you can make numbers look the way you want.
You really can.
You created 50, but 100 just were lost. You know what I mean?
Well, again, it's the whole counting system, Vinny. You know that. It's like if you're out of this, like, fortunately, you know, I got my band together again, and I'm happy about that. And again, a similar situation. The singer Glenn Malthrop, our singer, was out of work for a very long time, and found some. Thank God he found work now. But that's the whole thing. You know, if you're a single guy out of work and you're looking for work, you know. There is no help. If you've got 4 kids, and you know, and you're a woman and you have 4 kids, and there's no husband because you have 4 kids with 4 different people, you'll get, you know, $2,000 a month. You know, I mean, that's the system. It's just not right. You know, and I'm not pointing fingers at anything, but you got people that want to work and are hard working people. and they're not getting the jobs. And then you got these lazy people that are complaining about all the benefits that they're entitled to or not getting, and really are not part of the system. So they're weighing down everybody else. They fall off the unemployment roll. So you got somebody that's on unemployment for 2 years now. 2 years. They have benefits for 2 years. And then they fall off. Now, the employers don't want you after 6 months. This is also on record. Studies been done on this. That an employer will not even look at you if you've been out of work for more than 6 months. Mm-hmm. Especially in this economy. So then if you have a record, you did something, forget about it. That follows you for, again, all to put everyone on this welfare system, to basically bring everyone down to poverty, or as many people as they can.
It's also control, because I know, I agree with the things you're saying too, but those people, just like the Mexicans, whatever, they're not getting like too much. They get enough to where they're stuck. Like even if they get that 2,000, but you're getting like, you know, crappy food. You gotta live in a crappy neighborhood.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're never gonna go on a trip. You're never gonna have like
serfdom.
Buying things.
Yeah.
So they're kind of trapped to again.
And then
those are the people that have to jump up and down for the government. Yep. Because I know people who do these things and are unemployed, and what do? They got to jump through hoops for that $200 check.
That's
a
right.
Week.
That's exactly right.
To where it's like, oh, you want this measly food stamps? Well, we'll spend 8 hours on a day looking for a job, even though there are none. Or drive down over here and sit on a computer or whatever, and they do these things, and you got to jump through that hoop though. If not, you're gonna what? Starve. So those people are controlled by the government. Again, why growing food and trying to become self-sufficient?
They want to make that illegal, though. They want to see. That's the whole thing. You're trying to help yourself. I mean, God forbid, if I was on food stamps and I was living like from, you know, and had all that, needed that help, the first thing I would do is, if I had the opportunity, was to try to find ways to find food or make my own food. I mean, you can grow food. Everybody can. You don't even need. You can do it in your apartment if you have good light. I mean, it's true. You can grow vegetables in your window. You know, get a window box. I mean, people do it. But nobody's thinking that way. Nobody's thinking about having. They just think everything's going to get better and continue to.
Oh, and I wanted to add another thing for the opposite side of. Then there's the good people that did work for years and have things that lost their jobs. And then when they go to get that help that they never got their whole life, and they have a house and this and that,
they don't get it.
Just to get, if they are going to get it, they put liens on your house, and they're going to get that money back.
Oh, that's another thing.
The only one who doesn't get the money back is the person who stays on it for their whole life. Okay? The people who are actually doing the right thing and are just like, well, shit, I just lost my job, I just need a little bit help until the next thing comes, they're going to get that money back. The minute you start working or try to get out of the system, the government then's going to say, oh, I lent you that money, I'm getting it back right out of your paycheck. So they don't ever lose, the government.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. No,
so the good people get screwed over again, and it makes you want to be the worthless person and say, why even go and bother? Why? So I could work to come home with $100 because you're going to take half of it? And that's why you got the people who become the professional, just sit home and collect, and yeah, life sucks, but it's better than jumping through this and that, and they'll take their little crap and.
Well, again, and the bankers love it because Chase and the Bank of America are the two banks in the entire country. They have the whole country divided. They each have 25 states, and they're the ones that. Those are the banks that send out the checks to all the people.
Goldman Sachs makes percentages up.
They get it, and then you get a hit and check on top of that. And every time they use these little cards, they hit them with charges for $1 for this, $1 for that. So that's just a racket. Again, it's just a racket to bring you to serfdom. They got 3 million kids are getting out of school starting now, just like they did last year. And you know, God, there weren't even 3 million jobs created. And what about the 17 or 18 million people that are unemployed? 24 million if you really look at the ones that just stopped working or fell off the rolls.
Yeah.
Or are working off the
a lot
books
of people just
part-time, you know.
They're unemployed and not collecting. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. It
that
really
don't
is
get
true.
to be factored into the numbers.
Then there's people that have their own businesses and like, you know, and then there's no work, and then they lose their jobs because there's no work, and then their businesses, you know, they have to go look for work, and I had that problem. I had my own thing going on. I had to go back into the business world. I lost a lot of money trying to keep a business afloat. And it's difficult, especially when everything's against you.
Which it definitely is now.
It really is. It's just they want you to be part of this larger corporate. The small business owner, they want to destroy that person.
Yeah.
So you really shouldn't do
too much red tape and taxes.
They tax the shit out of you. They really make it difficult to start. And now supposedly, in Connecticut at least, they're trying to improve that, make it easier for people to start businesses. And that's yeah.
It'll be their friends that they do handshakes with.
Yeah.
Will get the money.
Well, stuff like that. That's why machines cast phantom votes in the Bronx. This is from your neighborhood.
They probably used my name in one of those.
Yeah. Tests on an electronic voting machine that recorded shockingly high numbers of extra votes in the 2010 election show that overheating may have caused upwards of 30% of the votes in a South Bronx voting precinct to go uncounted.
I was North Bronx, so.
Oh, well. Still so. I mean,
yeah, over.
These machines, and how the hell can anybody use these machines? I mean, you have to have paper ballots.
Yes. If not, it doesn't even count.
It doesn't count.
I don't trust any of that unless it's...
They're liars. What else is going on? J.P. Morgan, we were just talking about them. So they lost $2 billion.
Oh.
Yeah, managing risk. Now they're claiming that it's the shareholders that are going to lose, but you know how that's going to mean. You know what that means? It means
we're going to lose.
Somehow they'll just figure out a way to make more fees and take it from the taxes or something, because it is J.P. Morgan after all. So that all happened. Regulators are still drafting hundreds of rules under this law that they had to regulate the Barney Frank law. That idiot. At least he's got one thing right, but I don't know. I have a problem with Barney Frank. That doesn't make me a homophobe either, just because he's a homosexual. But anyway, Bernanke warns potential problems with community banks. I guess because everybody's running from Chase Manhattan and Bank of America and all the other criminal organizations, and
which they should be.
Which they should be running from them. Wells Fargo, who launder drug money, and Wachovia for a living. You know, to the tune of like $400 billion a year. Anyway, so don't go to your community banks, because that's going to be a problem. The Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke, which is great. You should have a picture of Bin Laden, but it looks like Bernanke with a turban on it. Definitely, I have that picture. I'll try to cut it. It's awesome. It's like Ben Bernanke, and it says, remember, like with 9/11. Remember 9/11? And it showed a picture of Bin Laden. Well, it shows Ben Bernanke dressed up like Bin Laden, and it says, "Remember 1913." I like that.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. So the community banks, they're saying that while standard, this is Mr. Ben Bernanke, while standard measures of community banks' profitability, such as return on equity and assets, improved last year, as was also true in large institutions, most of the gains were due to reductions in loan loss provisions rather than more sustainable sources of profit, such as expanding lending. So for that, they see that there's a problem. And elsewhere in the speech, Bernanke noted how bank lending standards had recently been loosened, and he emphasized how regulatory action had been balanced to ensure additional reporting requirements were not strangling lending activity. Meanwhile, equities rose at the beginning of his speech, and then, of course, it's unlikely, however, that any of his statements were truly market-moving, and they really weren't. But he's just lying again. They just want to keep. They don't. The best place to be is in a credit union or a local bank. I have Torrington Savings Bank. If they have any notes, you want to get a car loan, or you get a mortgage, or you get an equity loan, they hold the paper. See, they don't sell it part of this Ponzi scheme. And everybody was the derivatives. That's what these mortgages get sold. You buy your house and you use Chase. Next thing you know, it says Bank of America. Because they're criminals. They sell your mortgage. And then they'll sell pieces of it. That's derivatives. That's what caused the housing collapse. And people like Clinton, who made it easier with the homeowners, what was it called? The American Prosperity Act. Yeah. made it easier for people to buy homes that they couldn't afford and shouldn't have been in the first place. And then, of course, they shouldn't have done that. And the bankers even said it. Oh, yeah, well, you should have been more responsible. Yeah.
And the banker, the professional who has the business, they're not supposed to know, which a good business move or not, right? The homeowner's supposed to know more than the banker is what they're trying to say, huh?
Yeah, it is true.
They couldn't say, wait a sec, you haven't worked in a long time and you don't have no income? Well, maybe we shouldn't give this to you.
Well, you know, how about just cut and paste? We'll just say you made some money. We'll just put some, like, you know, cut and paste your.
Well, see, I honestly,
you made $10,000. We'll just put another zero. You made $100,000. How's that? All right. This way you can buy this $500,000 house.
I honestly think that was not to like be racist. I'm not racist, but I mean, I think a lot of that was for Clinton and these people were doing for the Democrats, the Al Sharptons and these people who then could like get low income people. You know, they made it like a racist thing, like, oh, you're not giving it to these low-income black people.
And then you took their assets.
And then you let them move in, knowing that they never were going to be able to afford it.
Exactly. It's very true. It was designed to do what it did. And then they did the same thing with the stock market, the whole boom. I mean, that whole the same thing. It was the same.
Oh, I wanted to ask you that no kisses vaccine thing you did, right?
Yeah.
I seen another one on 8.
Oh,
did you see it? This new one? Oh, it was something like I like double take while I was driving. It was where they used to have the say something, see something down by like where 84 and 8 are, a little bit further down. There was something like crazy there, like some like terrorists, this and that. This hardcore propaganda.
Well, they say join the National Guard. Big ads all over the place. Join the National Guard here in America.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like the worst thing I ever seen is right there on 8. It was some like hardcore propaganda, and it was the same one that a couple months ago was the say something, see something. So whoever's buying that, I'd like to know, because they're just spending their money to put propaganda up there one after another. And it's probably where your say something, see something was
That's
a little
different. Before. That was before Huntington. It was before 36.
A different spot.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing them.
It's terrible. You know, they're setting up, and then again, that's what scared me. We started out the whole segment with
it was something with us and Israel. Like, us and Israel, like, friends fighting, like, the Muslims. I swear, it was like something like us and Israel, like, hand in hand, fighting the enemy. And I was just like, no! Like, what am I looking at here?
Oh, my God. Well, there's quite a few sort of religious-themed billboards you see from time to time around here. And I notice also down there there's a big controversy now about a Mormon church they want to build, and
for who? Mitt Romney?
I don't know, but somewhere here in I think it's in Farmington, and I know that in Waterbury they're building a mosque, right? A big mosque.
I didn't know.
Yeah, right on 84. You could see it. Yeah. So
I have no problem with it.
I have no problem with any religions as far as unfortunately the people in the hierarchy most of them are really in bad. They're not doing the right thing. I mean, just call it as it is. I always say, I protect people's faiths and whatever you want to do, but I personally don't belong. My son goes to Catholic school, but we were at one time we were members of the parish, but I wouldn't join a parish. I wouldn't join any organized religion at all. I have my own faith.
Me too. I agree with you.
I just really don't find. And I know that, like my mother-in-law is a devout Catholic and believes all the things, and the Catholic Church does good and all of this. And when they had trouble when she was growing up, when my wife was growing up, they had trouble in this school. They let her go to school, let her reduce costs, and did all this stuff. And yeah, I know. I mean, there's a lot of Christian charity that is there but
it's like the Masons, right?
It's the higher,
some people doing the good things that don't know anything. The Vatican, they're not the real people.
The Vatican is unfortunately evil.
Very evil.
And they're complicit in a lot. In fact, as a segue,
segue.
Catholic Church sexual abuse scandal. The Vatican is in. The Vatican investigates 7 Legion of Christ priests for allegedly assaulting minors.
Allegedly.
They've known about this for centuries. It's not even for decades. It's part of. There's a reason behind it. The depths of the reason, or some of the people can't even. I remember. I brought this up with my mother-in-law because again, there's the most Catholic person I know. Goes to church every week and all mass and goes to Stations of the Cross and religiously and all the special events, And, I started talking about this, and he's like, well, this happened. Well, I can't listen to this, and I can't listen. Because a lot of people just want to put on blinders, and they don't, they're in their belief system.
A little bubble.
And he says, well, I know it happened. Well, yeah, you know it happens, but did you really ever think about it? And it's not like Father Tiano here at the church here in Torrington at the Catholic, it's at St. Peter, St. Francis Church, and St. Mary's, and there's a couple of churches here that are Catholic churches. But these people aren't bad. They're not. They're compartmentalized, just like anyone that works for General Electric, or they work for Exxon Mobil, or they work for BP, who's, again, like that whole all of these corporations that on the surface have, oh yes, we're going to do for technology, and we're going to try to get alternative fuels and all these other positive things, and there's that negative reverse undertone, and it's there. Believe me. BP oil spill. Oh, we're going to do the right thing. Well, what if they caused it? What if Halliburton intentionally put that cement down there to intentionally poison the water down there, to put the core exit B in there, and they're making more money
off the cleanup,
making more money off the cleanup than they lost in the oil spill. This is factual. This went on. Sherry Kane and Dr. Horowitz were on that show with conspiracy theory about that. And it's true, it happened. And now, again, I had a friend, he couldn't come on. I tried to get him on last week when he was in town that worked down there on the going down the cleanup.
About that.
And Jason Trudeau, and he's from Torrington, and he worked down there, and he said he saw great white sharks, like 4,000-pound great white sharks, just mucked up and rolled on the beach with dead and all this terrible stuff. And it's not any better. He's from Pensacola, Florida. He says it's not any better, and you can't eat anything from that water. But people do, and they are. And it says, let's go, all the propaganda, all the commercials. And guess who's paying for the commercials? BP. They're paying for the commercials to go, and they're putting them on television here in Connecticut. Go down to the Gulf Coast. Go on down. Come on down. The water's fine.
Did you see the...
Get on down there. Go on down here to Louisiana here. Have some crawfish. Yeah.
Did you see the South Park one? I bring up South Park a lot. When they did it on that, and it was like the BP guy in the commercial. They showed the South Park. And it's just like him with like a little animal. He's like, I'm sorry. We're sorry. And then, and they just kept doing it. And it's the BP guy acting all like, I'm sorry. Yeah, South Park always doing those good ones. The BP. Yeah, they pay for that, right? They start paying for their own commercial ads.
Yep. Yep. Well, again, they want to come on down there, courtesy of BP. It says it right there, right on the commercials. And I'm sure you've seen it wherever if you're in the United States, because of course we reach people far over. And in fact, at 8 p.m. we have Ronnie Bennick and Chris Honeyfield from Outside the Margins.
From Australia.
That's right, here on projectfreedom.ws. Informradio.com is having a little server issue, so I just want to give a shout out to Bobby K again. Thank you for helping us to get this message out the last 3 weeks. This is our third week that we've had the pleasure of your assistance here, and appreciate it. And once we get things rolling again, I'm happy that you'll continue to stream the show as you've been doing, and we'll have a little more coming down the road with that, a little more control too over the actual programming. I'll try to, something we've never really had a hands-on approach to it. We left that to Scott David Peters.
That's his name, Scott David Peters?
Yes.
That's right.
And he was pretty much in charge of programming. I had really no issues with that, and neither did Vinny. I mean, we didn't see anything wrong with that.
We inherited him.
We inherited him, and that's a good way to put it. And so now we're going to have a really hands-on thing going here, and then hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have it all rolling and 24/7 again.
And I hope to do more. I mean, I really haven't been doing much. Howard's been doing everything the past couple weeks. I've been busy, so I hope to be able to help out again. And
we'll try to get things moving and going ahead. We have a couple of road trips coming up. I'm planning on a little bit of. I got to take one of the Saturdays.
Did you talk about that? That's on the hush.
It's a little bit on the hush. I'm going to do a little project, freedom project, a side project, starting to get involved with. And then, of course, my band will be out there, Azure Soul, A-Z-U-R-E, Soul. You can Google that, Azure Soul. And there's some music out there on the internet. You can check us out if you like. We will be coming to the New England area. We'll be playing in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New York, with the dates to be released soon.
Cool.
Happy to be doing that again. I've been out of the music scene for a long time. In fact, people probably didn't even know that I did that. More people probably familiar with this stuff, which is great. You know, I think that's actually more of a testament to anything than anything else. But I'm happy to be playing again. It was really good to get a band together again, and I'm excited, even though I'm tired, because between doing a radio show, working 50 hours a week, and having a band is, you know, it's...
And a family.
And a family, and now, of course, the station, we get that thing back. Back to having the guests again. We have a few people that'll be coming down the road. We're going to have Doyle down the road. We're going to have Professor Griff in a pre-recorded interview.
I actually wrote him. I haven't heard back. I should probably call him.
Yeah, and we'll get him there. I also have Janet Phelan and Barbara Hartwell. We will be doing a show completely on discussing the whole situation with anti-Semitism and how it is being utilized. Basically the racism aspect, the division aspect. It's going to be a great show because
it's important.
It's important to understand that, you know, I've talked to a lot of people that have criticized me for my discussion of Israel, thinking I'm an anti-Semite, and I was like, no, I mean, you have to understand that there's a big difference, and there is anti-Semitism. And
I like always joking, saying it's like saying I don't like Jersey. It's a state. It's not a race of people that I don't like. I don't like the state of Israel.
Yeah.
Like the state of Jersey, we don't like in New York.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's like, yeah, you know, I mean, you know,
it's not racist.
But it's not even the people. It's just because, again, it's the government. It's the policies of the government.
Israeli taking over Palestinian land.
Remember how everybody dealt with apartheid. I mean, even Lethal Weapon had a diplomatic immunity. It was all about apartheid, if everyone remembers, okay? And they were drug dealing, but it was apartheid, okay? Look at what it took many years to get apartheid to the... Well, I still wouldn't want to live in South Africa if I was an African American, but you know, it's come a long way. Well, it's the same thing here with Israel, but nobody talks about it. It doesn't get the media attention. The effect on the Palestinian people. And how, I mean, again, you didn't hear, I'm sure, on the mainstream news. That's why this is where the news you hear is that you never hear on the mainstream. That there actually are thousands of people starving themselves because of this tyranny.
And again, what else could they do? They can't go tank to tank, plane to plane.
And they get thrown out of their homes if somebody else wants them. I mean, it's a terrible situation to be living under. Yet they are terrorists, and they're filth, and they're animals. And, I mean, and then you say, well, you know, you have to listen to their side and the other side. Well, I tell you, there are people that are captains in the Israeli Air Force that have come out on record about all of the horrendousness, and then other people in the Israeli military that are against the tyranny.
Yeah, there's the famous pictures where you could see the Jewish guys holding up, like, you know, that real Jews don't support Israel.
Exactly.
They lived there with Palestinian and had no problem for a long time until you created Israel.
Exactly.
They were neighbors.
They were neighbors. They were living in peace.
Then you put, like, this prison, like, in the middle, and now there's all these problems.
And you keep creating the problems, and then you have organizations that grew up, these terrorist organizations. I mean, you know, you forget, like the Israel Mossad, just like the CIA created Al-Qaeda through Zbigniew Brzezinski in 1979, you have Hamas, and you have...
which they admit they created.
Hamas, and even...
war criminals like Ariel Sharon.
And the other one, the ones that are the biggest, the quote-unquote, these, another organization, oh my God. With an M. I think it's with an M.
Another one. They were Hezbollah.
Hezbollah.
That's the Lebanon one that they created.
They created Hezbollah.
I knew someone from Lebanon.
And the other day, Brad Davis on the Talk of Connecticut on the radio is telling 3 million people in Connecticut that Hezbollah is the greatest threat and all of this, and I was like, oh my God,
they've been around forever,
but they're controlled by controlled opposition.
Yep.
It's worse than COINTELPRO because they literally do physical acts of terrorism. Okay, COINTELPRO is mostly propaganda, mostly dissent, you know, creating problems.
Bunch of Tim Whites
and assholes like that. cross-dressing pedophiles.
Did you see that thing with Tim White being the doctor? You remember that thing, Sherry and them?
Yeah.
You know about that? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead, you go.
No, I just was laughing. I just seen, Sherry Kane. We're good friends with Sherry Kane and Horowitz, and we email and we we're all in this together against these people. And I guess one of the newer things is someone saying like Tim White is like this doctor or something. I don't know. What was it? It was like.
No, he's not a doctor, but it's another one of his frauds.
Yeah, but he was portraying like he was like an expert in something.
Yeah. He's just a liar.
A perv hiding in Canada.
He's a perv and he's not going to be able to affect these people too much longer because we're not going to let off on this guy because every one of these people that have attacked us, we're going after them just as hard as they've come after us, and other things have happened. I mean, that we don't really go into too much, but. Lately, but more or less, I think we're on a path to focusing on getting the information out, like we've been doing, and not having to have these distractions. But this COINTELPRO, which seems to come up every once in a while, is sort of relentless.
But that means we're doing good. Like
it's a badge of honor, like Barbara Hartwell said. It's a badge of honor.
If we weren't saying something powerful, they wouldn't even be watching or caring about us. We must be doing something right.
Yeah.
For them to be attacking us so much.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm happy.
Well, again, it's exhausting, like this, and then to have this whole thing that happened, that it sort of got in the, as this is happening, as all this COINTELPRO attacks are happening, we discover that this guy Peters is a
that was the
alleged pedophile, and it just really still to this day. I mean, I got to tell you, I still can't believe it because I considered him such a good friend and like a brother, and it's very hard to realize that you never know. And then I realize this one. I think about in your life. I bet everybody around doesn't realize how many of these people are in your circle that you already know, like. This isn't the first pedophile that I've come across in my life. And you would think, wow, maybe you go your whole life, you run into somebody, but my God.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. I came up here to Connecticut. And
you look on the maps where they show you the red dots?
The red dots.
Oh, my God, they're everywhere.
They are everywhere. And you get to know them. And what was really frightening is, as I said, when I first moved up here, to Connecticut in 2005. And we had some work done, and I had been working for an insurance company and sold this guy a policy, an accident policy, and he was a contractor. And then some months later, I got in touch with him and had him build a bathroom and do some renovating work. And his son was, my son was like 9 at the time, or 10, and his son was around the same age, and they were playing together down in my son's playroom, and a couple of times now after the fact, it's frightening because my wife and I were home, but there were a couple of times we had left him alone working there while the kids were playing and like to go to the store or something, and nothing had happened, thank God. But then we discovered that I get a newspaper, I open the newspaper, and I see him in a picture, but it's a drawn picture, but it's like dead on picture, and I'm like, that's Chris. And I couldn't believe it. So I actually went to the North Canaan Police, the state police, and I told him, I said, here's his business card. I sold him insurance. Here's my business card, blah, blah, blah. Went through the whole 9 yards. And, of course, it turned out that his girlfriend then calls and says, would you be a character reference for him? I said, what are you, crazy? And she was, like, again, in denial. And this is what I'm trying to get to, the point about the denial. She was in total denial, and then finally, of course, he was found guilty and got 40 years. He must serve 17 years of a 40-year sentence before being eligible for parole. He had abused more than one child, and he was caught, basically. So that's just the end of that story. And it was just sickening. And then you talk about this Catholic Church with the abuse of priests and all of this, and these people are all around us, and you never know. Now, Truth War, this person who's allegedly involved with child pornography, and it's just a disgusting, fact that you have some very, very deviant people that prey on children, because mostly in my research they've been preyed upon themselves, and it's not like that's why to a certain degree I'm trying to find out a little more. Like I do have some background that I received from the detective on Scott David Peters, where his own mother believes that he might be a schizophrenic, that he's really unemployable as far as intelligent as he is, and believe me, incredibly intelligent person, very well known, very well read person, and he was basically unemployable. He was working at his mother was is a school guidance counselor of all things, which is really just outrageously, I don't even know how to take that, is how could this have happened, you say, right? This woman's son being this way, and she knew pretty much who his lifestyle is. It's sort of like the typical story of the mother that's protecting the child, that's doing the bad things, like that movie Bad Ronald, if you remember that movie where the mother protects him from killing his schoolmate, and then she dies, and he like hides in the house. Anyway, 1970s movie, but TV movie. But it comes to mind, and that's what I was thinking, that the mother is, again, they're not that she was bad or anything, or that she's intelligent, clearly. I mean, she was able to get a position like that. And then the only job that this guy could have was in the school as a lunchroom worker, as a school lunch worker. Again, being around children, which is even more disturbing.
Howard, you know that site or whatever I was talking about with the red dots?
Yeah.
Where you could like look up.
Yeah, you go. There is a the pedophile sex offender registry, and yeah, if you go anywhere it is, and you put in your town, you won't believe how many comes. If you just in the United States, I'm sure they have it abroad for those listening in other countries. You just go in and put in sex registry in your local county or town, and it'll come up with a map, and you'll see these dots are everywhere. I mean, it's incredible. How many of these people are around. So we have to expose them, even if they're a close friend or an associate, like Scott was. And my personal viewpoints, I mean, I think he's very troubled. I think he might really very well be schizophrenic. I know that the detective, who I'm going to keep his name out of it for now, feels that there certainly is definitely a mental health issue. So it's not as though he's just this evil person that, and I don't want it to go down that way. Certainly, if he has done anything that is evil, that's again a circumstance that hopefully never occurred. At this point, he's just sees that there was nothing wrong with looking at, distributing, and collecting child pornography. So I guess that's the end of that.
I remember what stood out was that time we had Barbara Hartwell on, and me and you already knew about this stuff with Truth, and we were keeping it hush. And Hartwell, we were on, and she was talking about the child trafficking, and I brought up, oh, well, I heard years ago Thailand with the 10th Alpha baby, and then Truth War came on, and was like, yeah, you go to this website, and you could see where you could have sex with these kids, right?
In a room, in Texas.
And we both just looked at each other like...
We both went like this. Yeah, I know it's on the video.
And we had to and because you got to be quiet, and it's like, he didn't just say that, did he? Like...
And he really put himself into it.
There's a guy who didn't really talk.
Now, we did We did this intentionally. I mean, one of the things that we were doing was trying to trigger him to
come out.
And he did. And I think Barbara was listening probably like this, like, everyone's mouth dropped that knows that we're, that we know that. But truthfully, he feels nothing.
He didn't even realize.
He does. There's nothing. He's like, there's nothing wrong with him knowing this information. Then you say to yourself, "My God, how does he even know about this website where you can go and then make it and go to Texas and go into a room with a young boy for an hour?"
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, and he jumped right in to say that.
Jumped right in.
We triggered him to say that.
Triggered it, and I mean, again, that was part of the operation, was to get him to react, and but unfortunately, he really doesn't, to this day, I believe, feel that he's done anything wrong. And I went over this with Ronnie, and we've probably covered it a little bit in these other shows. I don't want to beat this situation to death, but it does come up from time to time when we talk about these things. And it was sort of like he knew that he blew it. I think what happened is when he showed the screen, which is how this occurred, he showed the screen to Madam X and to Ronnie Bennick. He didn't think that what was on the screen was going to be shown, that particular image that they saw. Like he fucked up. You know, he showed the wrong thing. Maybe he was looking at that and had it in a closed box and then opened the window and shared the wrong screen. Who knows what he did. But he quickly went back and then defended himself. And then days down the road, and as the situation moved on, he kept sort of asking Ronnie about feeling her out, about saying anything, and about Marlena and everything else. Yeah. These other people. So the whole thing happened, and it was like minutes that this piece happened, and then there was just hours and hours of back and forth, and days of the actual discussion of the event. But it really was just a very short little thing. It wasn't very, very long. And I think that he was then for weeks, before he was actually arrested, realized that he was condemned, and he actually wrote that, the condemned. Yeah, he wrote a Skype back to Ronnie as he's signing it off as the condemned. And you got to wonder what he meant by that.
So he knew already.
He sort of might have had some inclination. But you know what? Again, I've discussed this with Ronnie privately and everything, and we've talked about this on air a little bit, is sometimes people like this, to some degree, and this is common, they want to get caught. And they find themselves in a situation where they actually help themselves. A lot of criminals actually find them do this. They incriminate themselves. They subconsciously don't really want to do what they're doing. And actually, I pray that's really what it was, because that would make me feel better about him than to know that, that he. But I certainly see things. Through a better viewpoint. If I would feel better about it if he was, really, really sick and needed help, and as opposed to just being a deranged individual. Clearly is, though, for what he's done, or is allegedly done. And I'm a little blue now. I'm a little buzzed. It's sort of like. No, but it came up, and it's it's just we talk. This is not. This is well, the other thing is down the road again. No phone calls right yet, but we'll get that straightened out next week or so, and I'll have the servers will be back, and we'll be back in business. But yeah, this thing has really thrown us all for a loop. I only can hope that he gets the help that he needs, and that's it. And it appears that nobody's out there attacking anymore. It appears that has died down. So maybe this can all just sort of fade into history as it should. We're talking about a lot of things now. The government's doing really weird things, as you know. Now microchipping is becoming a very popular thing. This is an article from the American Dream, and from May 9th. You can go there and check it out. It's called, After the Government Microchips Our Soldiers, How Long Will It Be Before They Want to Put a Microchip in You? Written by Michael Snyder. And it's a great article, and it does go into a lot of detail about DARPA, which is Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And the soldiers are now being chipped, which actually has medicines and chemicals in the chips to help ward off bacteria and diseases and biological warfare. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how frightening that makes me feel, because...
What's frightening to me is this is what they've been talking about
from
a long time ago. Yeah. I was listening the other day, I listen to rap, and the Tupac song, it's a song from 15 years ago where Tupac's like talking about, they're trying to stick microchips in us and this and that was like 15 years ago, Tupac talking about it. So like it's scary because they've been planned. You could see that it's planned and that it's coming through now while we're alive and dealing with it.
Yep.
Where it was talking before, we're seeing it now. Just
there
like
are
a lot of
YouTube
things.
videos where those that have been given microchips through the government, they show you how you can take them out. I mean, unfortunately, it's pretty gruesome, but you can go Google it. I saw it. My friend Chris Ty at work, he showed me that, and I was like, wow. So yeah, there are YouTube videos of how to remove a microchip that's been implanted. Pretty sick. That's what they look like when they get under the skin. A little like chip in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you got a little chip
And
there.
they already had the Mexican troops a couple years ago, right? That they put chips in?
Yeah, well, they've done.
Mexican
No,
troops
our
a couple years
troops are as well. In the United States today, millions of dogs and cats
Yep.
have been microchipped.
My sister.
Thousands of elderly Americans with Alzheimer's disease have been microchipped. You see, this is all like, what a great idea.
Yeah, you might get lost.
You might get lost, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
walk down the
God
block.
forbid they could wear a wristband that maybe tells them where they are.
Actually,
but,
be with a family member that helps.
yeah, or
God
a
forbid.
necklace, but no, it's got to be in your body because you might forget it or not
Yeah.
put it on. The U.S. military is developing medical devices that contain microchips to monitor the health of soldiers. And once the government is microchipped, implanted in all of our soldiers, how long will it be before they put it in us? Well, they already have these microchips, which are being put in voluntarily, and they have again ability to give you medicine. So, folks that have diabetes and other ailments where you need to have a systematic amount of medicine, they can provide you with that too. So
Yeah,
that
it's
just
like a
scares
watch.
me even
I
more.
remember them talking about it, like pushing it, like, oh yeah, this is good because if there's a problem, it'll let us know, right? Like it tracks your.
If you don't remember to take your
vitals
medicine, it'll tell you, or it does something. You know, I mean, I get on the level. Listen, if I was asleep, a typical sheeple, and I was just like, this was like, you know, when I still lived in New York. I gotta say, if it wasn't for moving here, I probably never would have woke up. To be honest.
Well, you remember, was it Barbara? No, not one of those famous blonde ladies. Did that interview right after 9/11 with that woman in Florida. You know exactly what I'm talking about. With the black hair, her eyes were like whacked out, and she was like, "Oh, after terrorism, I'm scared for my children." And she was the first person to sign up to get a
microchip. Her family,
kids,
her whole family,
because of terrorism.
Yep, that was the propaganda one, and they jumped to do it. They jumped to do it right after it. Oh, absolutely.
Maybe Katie Couric, one of those people did it.
Yeah, they did it on. They did it on. Yep, they did it on the morning show. I remember that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
DARPA's got some crazy shit going on. They're doing a lot of crazy things. Now, for example, in India, a massive effort is underway to collect biometric identity information for each of the people in the country. That's also by mandate. They have to do it. Because of identity
orders,
theft.
I'm sure. Right?
Well, these UN orders are going to be, considering May 1st, Obama's executive order went into effect stating that we will sign on to anything that these insane lunatics at the world government want.
And that's what everybody's going to have to do. That's what the New World Order is. The UN is the government for the New World Order.
And when you think about it, and you get to the biblical part about it, even folks that don't even want to like look at that. I mean, I'm not I'm not a big religious person. God is the biggest force in my life, but not religion. But the damn book is unbelievable. Damn, probably that's blasphemy, I guess. But it's unreal because look what it says in the book. About Revelation.
It talks about one world government, one world economy.
It does. And in Revelation, when it talks about the mark and not being able to buy and sell, look what will happen. Here's the dangers. This is why it's an interesting article, and it really got chills reading it, was that it certainly would make it easy for Big Brother to watch and monitor and track everyone. It would become nearly impossible to live a normal life without getting an implant. So whether or not they make it mandatory, it'll
just make it where you can't function without it.
Pretty much, and that's why they don't want you to be able to have a garden. I'm serious. You really have to think bigger than this. It's a very big picture, and the big picture is down the road. They don't want you to be able to grow anything, defend yourself, or have any way to sustain yourself without them.
Yep.
And they want to control what you do. Mm-hmm. It is like the boss that you have that micromanages everything and doesn't allow you to do anything because he knows better.
And Aaron Russo said this too, where he talked to Rockefeller, right, in those interviews,
Yep.
right? And he was saying, yeah, they'll just turn your switch off.
Turn your chip
and,
off.
And Rockefeller said to him, right, that on their chip it says, like, kiss my ass or something like that.
Yeah.
They show a cop, whoever, and it's like, kiss my ass. Like, they're, you know, the elite. Don't
That's
have to
right. They don't have to worry about it.
Built into their chips.
It's built into their chips, and that is true. And they are chipped. The elite are chipped. See, it's not like that's not so. Well, what? Yes. Well, if you're the guy that's doing the damn thing, wouldn't you chip yourself and control that? You're in control of the chip.
Yeah. You're not going to screw yourself and
Yeah.
steal your money.
But it's
So
going
they
to
got
protect you. You're going to have all your, if you drop dead of a heart, all these things that they love, you've got the protection, but you also have that barrier that it's never going to be against you. Unless it had an artificial intelligence and came to life on its own, which would be great, like a HAL computer in 2001, you know, something like that. But other than that, these people are they're the ones that are funding it. They're the ones that have paid for the research money, for the fabrication of it, for the control, for the design of it, for the manufacturing of it. And there are millions and millions and millions of them all over the world. So it's not like something new that nobody's done before. This has been going on for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the animals, like you said.
Animals, they started,
Almost all the...
but people were chipped. The elite chipped their kids because for kidnapping and all that other stuff. They want to be able to make sure they could find them. There's a lot of reasons that they've been doing this since the 80s. That's known.
Yeah.
Yeah. This technology's been
underground. I guess the way they use it, like you said, it is good for them because you won't lose your identity. And
well, again, your identity. Now, listen, if you don't have a chip,
but for us,
if you don't have a chip, you can't get a bank account. How can you get a bank account without a chip? So no bank account for you. You can't go shopping without a chip. You might be stealing, you know. So you can't get a job without a microchip. What if you could not conduct a single financial transaction without a microchip? How would you live? You really wouldn't, would you? You'd be forced to do it. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to, you know, they don't want you, you know, you can't even use a bow and arrow. I mean, they want to make, you know, they'll probably get to the point where, like, you know, no.
Can't have spoons.
Can't have spoons. No knives. No knives. It's just very, very scary because they are intent on doing this. They really are intent on doing this. And once they have... Now, again, it could take... They're not saying this is going to happen overnight, and I don't intend it to. It took 25 years to get to this point where you were called the looniest, craziest, psychopathic nut. If you were talking to, like, people like Cooper when they were starting out and others, William Cooper and other people like Eustace Mullins, and talking about the world government, and people like Larry P. McDonald, who was murdered by them. Yeah. That, you know, oh, you're crazy. The Council on Foreign Relations is working towards a world government. Tom Braden, the CIA agent, Assad was called, who was a Project Mockingbird. He said he called him asinine by saying that the Council on Foreign Relations is working towards a world government in 1983, several weeks before they killed Larry P. McDonald when he was aboard the Korean airliner 007.
And there was
Flight 007, interestingly enough. Yeah.
I want to bring up this one thing. My cousin Tommy, he found this like old Masonic book from like 1812. Like the pages are like almost like, it's a little book like this from 1812. And now his father, my uncle, is one of these guys, you know, you conspiracy theorist and this and that, and don't want to believe things, you know, this country is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And right there, and this is a guy, you know, where you'd say New World Order, and conspiracy, there's no proof. And then all of a sudden his son shows him, and he's like, look at this Mason book from 1812. And there, in 1812, this is before the Civil War and everything, it says right there in the Masonic book, they're talking about the one world government in 1812 in this book.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like when America was just starting off, they were already talking about the one world government.
Well, the Treaty of Versailles,
so
they were talking about.
My uncle was just like, yeah, what are you going to say now? 1812, they were talking about the New World Order.
Long
and
before
here it is,
that.
200 years later, and you're still saying we're crazy.
I want to read that book.
Yeah, he got it. We tried to look. We thought it would be worth a lot of money, but they make it like it's nothing. So I was like, yo, you should just hold on to that. And
yeah, that's a
200-year-old Masonic book talking about the New World Order and everything. Right in the beginning of the book, it's right there. Because this has been the plan from the beginning.
It has. It really has.
Crazy. I know.
It was
and Washington talked about the Illuminati it's written down that he talked about the Illuminati, and that's conspiracy.
Yeah, Jacobinism, yes, which is what it was. Which is again, it brought about the Illuminati brought about the French Revolution. That's on record. Robespierre and all that stuff, and he lost his head. The history is clear, and again, it's the bankers. You know, it's the Frankfurt bankers from Germany.
And this bloodline.
And the bloodline, yeah, the royal bloodline, which is a German and French bloodline, which is there really is no English bloodline. It's nothing purely English. I mean, yes, we're the British. Yes, we are the sexy Coburg Gothas.
Who spoke German and not even English in the beginning.
Exactly. Who is now known as the Windsor family. Yes. But again, it's stuff they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you that the United States is a corporation.
Now, I want to add to that bloodline through my research, because there's the evidence of where it goes back to Germany. But then I look, and before Germany, they came from Rome, and then that bloodline from Rome was the one with Alexander and then in Greece. And then you got to go back even further, and it goes back to the Egyptian pharaohs. Okay? And people, if you don't believe me, you think I'm crazy, why does the Queen of England sit on, step pyramids? Why does, the Pope come out and salute an Egyptian obelisk and the president and all them? Why? Why is there Egyptian pyramid like on the back of the dollar? And people look and it's like, oh, Egyptian is like different than like the white blonde hair, but this was the bloodline. And the Egyptian pharaohs, again, people gonna say this is crazy, but if you do research, the people in the Bible, Moses and Abraham, they were Egyptian pharaohs. Moses was Tutmosis, Abraham was Amenhotep, and the stories in the Bible were based on the Egyptian pharaohs. And this bloodline I trace back to Egypt 6,000 years ago. Wow. Where it left Egypt, and that's what this bloodline is.
Well,
it makes sense.
It does make sense.
Why would the Queen and all them do this?
And
because
also,
that's their bloodline.
Of course,
they were the Egyptian pharaohs, their ancestors. Now, before that,
Cleopatra's needle.
I don't know.
That's why they bore Cleopatra's needle.
Yeah, and all of them, right? They call it the Ring of Power. You got the Vatican, London, and Washington D.C.
And the obelisk and the oval, which is a symbol at the Vatican. It's also a symbol in the White House,
for the president to come
the
out
Oval
to.
Office, and the
Queen comes out to it.
Washington Monument. It's real. It is no doubt about it. And in New York, there is an obelisk. I forget. I think it's in Washington.
Cleopatra's Needle.
It's in Washington. Well, no, Cleopatra's Needle's in London.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's in Washington Square Park. I come from New York, and I don't remember. I think it is in Washington Square Park. The obelisk and the old. Oh no, that's an arch that's in there. Columbus Circle, which would make sense actually. Columbus Circle.
Yeah, Columbia.
So it is up there. They have the same thing as far as an obelisk and the phallic symbol and the woman, the man and the woman.
Yeah.
That's
the obelisk is the phallus, and then if you looked, it's the big circle.
The oval. Well, it's a partial. It's an oval. It's like a.
Which is an ancient pagan thing.
It's a pagan symbol. Well, it's all paganism.
Yeah,
it's all paganism.
And it all starts to make sense when you trace the bloodline. And why is there so much with Egypt? Because they left Egypt and conquered all of this, and this is the bloodline. And that's what I think Hitler and all that. It wasn't about Germans,
but also
a German bloodline. It was about this bloodline, I think.
But I also think that when you look at the again the symbols, you got Molech, and you've got. The gods. These are Egyptian gods, Molech, and they worship this owl.
Which is what their family's still doing technically. George Bush, whether you believe it or not, is related to Godfrey the Bullion, the last king of Israel.
There is no doubt about it.
Like this is the bloodline.
It is a bloodline. It is real, and. It's just silly. They got the Bush daughters, or one of them's.
They married off a couple years ago to some rich family too. Did you notice that?
Well, the Clintons too. Well, Clinton, what's her name? Chelsea Clinton married a Goldman Sachs rising star. So, this is all. It's beyond nepotism. It's family. They keep it in the family, and that's really what it is. And like. The CIA, again, you can't join the CIA. They pick you or you're born into it. Like Barbara Hartwell, third generation. And she's giving me so much information about the real origins of it, and it's great, and I appreciate everything, Barbara. Thanks again.
Yeah, because she admitted that it's bloodline too.
It is a
and family.
bloodline.
She's admitted it.
Absolutely on air. I mean, and that it was that are Nazis. Literally, again, you're getting back to the Hitler and the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yale is with the skull and bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if I brought this up, but that movie, The Good Shepherd. Did you see that?
Matt Damon. Yeah.
De Niro made this movie. De Niro's in it. Matt Damon, Angelina Jolie. And it's exactly what we're talking about. It's like about the skull and bones. Matt Damon's like father was it, so the bloodline. So he becomes it. Later on, his son becomes it. The CIA, the skull and bones. They show everything, and none of them trusting, right? All of them using things, setting each other up, and.
Well, they do. I mean, it's a pretty good example of it, and I think that it's even, it's funny. You got
Bloodline Secret Society is how they do it.
It is really how it's done.
Right, like if you got the bloodline, you got an opportunity, right? And then you got to prove yourself in the secret society.
Yes, and
how far you move up.
And Clinton, I believe Bill Clinton is. I mean, again, I haven't 100% clarified this, but other people have mentioned it, and I haven't seen anything to differ the opinion that, of course, he was, he came from a broken home. He was his mother was a single mom type situation, and I have pretty much come to the understanding and conclusion, considering where he went and people in his family and the schools he attended, and that he's an illegitimate Rockefeller. And Aldrich Rockefeller was the governor of the state of Arkansas when Mr. Clinton was, a little boy, and for many years. And then, of course, he became the governor of Arkansas and ran it like the governor's mansion. Everybody should see the Clinton Chronicles. And he ran the governor's mansion the way the Rockefellers ran their cabal. Controlling, using all of the efforts, using all of the powers of his office to achieve his goals, which was drug trafficking, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Him and his brother loving that coke.
Loving that cocaine through Mena, Arkansas, and Barry Seal and all those guys, and the CIA, and everything else. It's all real. It's all true. That is a fact. The Rockefeller connection makes sense, but I've yet to see physical proof of it, but it's out there all over the place. But,
and Hillary's
again, I'll
bloodline.
mention it. If I don't know, I'm not going to say that.
Hillary's bloodline.
Hillary's bloodline, too. Rodham.
To
The Rodham bloodline goes into that. There's a lot of people. I mean, you look at the elite and the people that we call the quote-unquote celebrities, or the politicians, or the people that are well-known. A lot of them are from this bloodline. Humphrey Bogart was an elite. His father was an upscale doctor, and he comes from that crowd. And it doesn't mean that he did anything bad. I mean, that's the other thing. Reese Witherspoon, her great-great-grandfather signed the Declaration of Independence. I mean, it's a family. They're family doctors. Again, doctors that go for generations. Southern family. But it is, a club, and you're not in it.
That's called it, line. Big club, and you ain't in it.
You ain't in it. You ain't in it. Wow. It's incredible. Haven't even taken a break today. It's all right. I mean, I feel pretty good. I was really exhausted when we started the show, man. I got a little second wind. I was telling you, I was just like... I just wanted to, maybe we'll go into take a little break. If Bobby's out there, we could take a 2-minute, 2-song break if you can hear me, Bob. Before we go into this next segment, if you're there. I know he said he was stepping out for a short while. Yeah, he'll be back shortly. He's not quite back yet. Excellent. Anyhow, we'll take a break probably in about 10 minutes or so. Going ahead, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about some information. We always talk about vaccines, and again, I have many family members and no friends whose children have developed autism after having their booster MMR shots and other things. And my cousin Angela and her son unfortunately suffers from autism and he was a perfectly healthy child until he got his booster MMR shot there. And now it comes out that baby monkeys develop autism after getting these routine CDC vaccinations. So somebody's actually doing something on the good side of the cross, and researching, well, what happens to cumulative effects of vaccines given to infant monkeys. And it shows from this U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention should have conducted, but never has conducted, this research. But it is presented at the International Meeting for Autism Research, which again would make sense. These people are dedicated to do something about it, and of course Big Pharma is fighting them like, tooth and nail. Because if they ever prove that there is a actual connection to this, the legal aspect of it, forget about it. And if they also prove malice and intent, which is part of it. I mean, they are trying to kill us. They are trying to kill us. I mean, the best way to try to get these people is to try to catch them in their acts of trying to murder us. And in this case, you have in London, findings reveal that young macaque monkeys given the typical CDC recommended vaccine schedule from the 1990s and in appropriate doses for the monkey's size and ages tended to develop autism symptoms. The unvaccinated counterparts, on the other hand, developed no such symptoms, which points to a strong connection between vaccines and the autism spectrum disorders. Okay? I don't know how long I'm going to be fighting people like Dr. Jason Perkel, my friend here in Torrington, a pediatrician. I mean, come on. I just keep shooting this thing, and actually he doesn't even start attacking me anymore. Maybe he's starting to wake up just to it. But they teach this to you in school. I've had Dr. Edward Spencer on here discussing this, who unveiled a conspiracy to withhold information back in 1996. He's a neurologist of his own thing. We're going to try to get Dr. Blaylock on about this as well. How do you explain this? How can you explain going from 1 in 1,500 in 1980 to 1 in 25 in some communities, or to 1 in 150 on average, or 1 in 110, depending on which research study you look at? I mean, come on, 100 kids are born in a month here in Torrington, let's say, or wherever, in your local hospital. That means that in every hospital locally, every 100th birth or something around there, the kid's got autism? I don't think so. Do a study for a year, don't give them any shots, and see what happens to those children. No, you can't do that. That's endangering their health. See, that's how wickedly evil these motherfuckers are.
It's freaking opposite land crap.
It's opposite land shit. Exactly. It's just so fucking evil. And that's it. I get fucking mad and I just curse. That's it. Because it is evil. Because you're saying, oh, there's a threat. How come Amish children don't have asthma? And people that grow up on farms don't have asthma and respiratory problems like all these other people do. They found out about that a long time ago. There's healthier people that live on farms. I mean, this is your body is being attacked by a foreign disease. Okay, that's what a vaccine does. It gives you
what they say they're protect you from,
and that's how it's doing.
They got to shoot you up with it so your body can
fight it, to learn how to fight it. Yeah. So
swine flu, that means you're shooting swine flu.
And again, it's all about making the bottom line of those freaking drug companies, okay? And that's what it's all about. That's why they're in bed with the FDA, and you got crazy people like Michael R. Taylor running the food, and now they're going to try to get him to run everything, and then God help us all. The FDA is now proposing bypassing doctors, again, opposite land, saying that over-the-counter drugs and certain prescriptions should be able to be purchased over-the-counter, and some of that I think is good. Asthma medications to a certain degree. There are a lot of people that maybe would benefit from that because it's very costly, and folks that don't have insurance have to go to a doctor to get the prescription, and I can see the validity to this. But they're talking about diabetes, statins, which really I got a problem with the statins. So cholesterol drugs over the counter? No, I don't think so. Statins, diabetes drugs, yeah. If you're a diabetic, you should know how to control your blood sugar. And why not?
Yeah, my uncle always complains. My uncle's a bad diabetic.
Exactly.
And what he's always complaining to me is that it's the money-making thing where, here it is, he's been getting this medicine for like 20 years. Nothing's going to change. He's not going to get better next week or whatever. But they force him like every month to have to go in, pay the copay, sit down, and get another thing. And it's like, why do I have to keep coming to you? Because you need my money and you want to keep milking me. I'm going to need the same prescription next month. Why do I have to keep coming back and wasting time and wasting money? Because that's what they want. And here it is, why not? Diabetes and this and that. Give them to where you could just go and get them. Why do you got to keep going and spending your money so they can milk you? They don't care. Big money-making scheme. And I got to hear my uncle talk about it all the time.
It's true. Now you got two sides fighting for the same goal, to maximize prescription drug use, interestingly enough. So it's like everything else. It's got its good factor, and then it's got the underlying theme of just getting more people to utilize the drugs. Because after all, I mean, people that are diabetic, unfortunately, must use insulin, those that are diabetic. But they're causing more people to become diabetic.
Without a doubt.
Through these different additives to the foods. The food is the biggest problem. Merck and Pfizer, two Rockefeller companies, are under investigation for colluding, you think so? With the Obama administration on healthcare overhaul. Oh, this is from Ethan Huff on National News. Yes, most Americans have no idea what truly went on behind closed doors when they did the Obamacare, but we know it was written by the drug companies. We all know that. And as reported by Bloomberg, Republicans from the House Energy and Commerce Committee have been toiling for roughly a year to obtain key documents pertaining to the exposing the truth about Big Pharma's role in the creation of Obamacare. And I better get in there and repeal this thing. It just should be completely repealed. It is absolutely a horrific piece of legislation that takes away everyone's free choice and rights and will cause more deaths. I mean, it'll kill 1 billion people. Well, not 1 billion, but it'll kill millions of people will die as a result of this. They won't get their brain cancers. You need 2 months. You can get this fixed. It takes you 6 months, and you're dead. So that's how it works, and it's eugenics. Denying older people, it'll kill millions of people. I mean, they want to do it.
60 something. You had a nice enough life.
Yeah. No heart surgery for you after 60.
We need it for Dick Cheney when this thing goes out.
when everyone starts really needing health care, that's when we're not going to give it to you. Because most people live their whole lives. I mean, knock wood, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but I'm 45 years of age and never had really any serious health problems. But, I mean, it's inevitable. Something's going to happen. You can't live your whole life and not have something happen to you with a health-related thing as you age. It's a normal process, right? Okay, so let's just not give you anything. You go your whole life, never used a goddamn dime, paid $15,000 a year, maybe you spent $500 in co-payments total because you went to the doctor 10 times. You spent $15,000 to go to the doctor 10 times, with your family. I mean, I'm going on my family plan, understanding the ridiculous cost associated with this. If I was spending $1,500, per month, I can't afford to self-insure, but I'm not spending no $1,500 on my health care.
No.
And I might not need $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 worth of health care ever in my life, yet I'm paying in 10 years $150,000 on minor claims for my son's
you could have a house
asthma or whatever, or
you could get a 10-year loan on a house for that.
It's absolutely, it makes it impossible. And then those that are in the middle, the donut hole, if you want to call it, that most of Americans, by the way, are in the donut hole. That means they make too much money to get anything from the state.
Yep.
Or they're that's really what it is, and they can't afford to buy health insurance on their own. Now here in Connecticut, thank God, they have Charter Oak, which is a good thing. So folks that are in that donut hole can obtain a sliding scale insurance plan.
That's good.
That covers you. So if you're making, you're in the donut hole, I think it's like $50,000 or something like that, or the threshold. I don't know what it is for a family of 3 or whatever, 4. and whatever the threshold is, and then you pay a certain amount based upon your income, up to like a certain amount. They don't do that in every state, though. Now that makes sense. I mean, why should somebody that's struggling to get by have to, I mean, that's a mortgage payment, $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't even make that. Some people don't even make that in a month.
I was thinking that too. Some people don't even make that in a month.
That's right. I mean, it's just so out of control, and it's corruption, it's collusion, it's the haves trying to just keep taking from the have-nots. And I don't want to sound like these liberal communists that seem to be like salivating over every moment to just take away rights in the name of helping to keep us safe and helping to keep us protected and all of this other stuff, which is really just a crock of shit. I don't know. I sometimes I think about the Democrats and the Republicans are really so alike. They absolutely are. They're just so alike. They say that it's Democrats tax and spend, but look at the Republicans. What's the opposite?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
communism and fascism.
It's communism and fascism. That's really. So what do you got in the middle? It's
us idiots getting played.
That's it. It's the right are fascists and the left are communists. It's that simple.
I said that to someone else. Someone was stuck in the thing. I was like, you just got Brzezinski and them who are because they're all like kind of friends. They're all like,
oh my God,
this and that. But then you got like there's the split views. It's are you the corporate fascist or are you the socialist communist? But they're still like friends, but they kind of beef with their ideas.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. The communist and fascist bumping heads, but they both part of the same secret society and group. And then they play us off as left, right, black, white.
Well,
whatever.
that's the big thing. I mean,
yeah,
it should just be liberty.
Family members.
It should just be liberty. Just be freedom. You either have liberty and freedom, or there's tyranny. Period.
Or how about get rid of political parties?
Yeah.
Period.
George Washington. All the founding fathers. They were again. Yeah, there should be.
Then you'd actually have to hear what the person's saying, pay attention, and see what they're going to go for. Not the D or the R next to their name.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, the parties or the party system is again designed to keep the people divided. If anything, you'd have a fairer spectrum. But who could afford to be president? You can't.
You got to be rich.
You got to be rich. So that again, right there, that's unconstitutional. Right there, that is unconstitutional. That is civil rights violation. That to be a president, you must have superior funding.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean you have to be rich, but you have to obtain all this money from who? From who's going to give you money? If you really want to change your country and do the right thing for the people, you think you're going to collect pennies on the street and quarters and dollars?
You shop right with a can?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's not going to happen.
You got to get Pepsi and these people giving you millions of dollars.
Yeah, Pepsi.
Big
then
corporations.
Right. They're going to want their little. I would
and
want to have this.
Pass law for them.
Right. And that's what's destroying this country. The lobbying. Yes. Yep. And that's got to end. And I think that it should be put that there should be no more than a $250 campaign contribution. Mm-hmm. Because then they can't do these outrageous. I mean, we're talking about Hollywood movie budgets for campaigns.
Yeah.
$100 million, $70 million. I mean, this is madness. Okay? Propaganda machine madness to pay back these lobbyists that, by the way, give money to both of them. Mm-hmm. They give money to both sides. Look at Obamni, because they're the same people. Mm-hmm. Obama's people, Romney's people. Mm-hmm. Hey, they're the same. Hey.
Just like Bush and Kerry.
Yeah.
And they were the same bloodline and secret society.
Yeah, it's very true. So obviously, we got a lot of things that are going wrong. Yeah. And we talked about the Gulf Coast before. I should have brought this up when I was there. I was talking about the Core Exit B. Seeing how bad it is, the government, of course, is complicit in this cleanup. And they've been making so much money, but this Halliburton, of course, is behind this whole thing. It's really, really bad. There's this guy, David Hogan, who started helping with the cleanup, and then he was pretty much getting sick after that. And His team ended up with permanent injuries that left several of them, including Hogan, completely unable to walk as working from this core exit B. And as I said, my friend Jason was down there, and he said it was really, really bad. And again, you really, they let him go because he was too sick. Imagine that. That's it. You work until you get sick, too sick to work, and then they let you go.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Now he's got no work. He's coming back up north. The EPA has refused to require full disclosure of the chemicals that are used in core exit as well. So, I mean, I don't even know how to quantify that. But after being repeatedly pressed on the issue, they finally caved, which ended up exposing several highly toxic chemical ingredients known to cause serious health damage and similar damage to what these people have endured with the paralysis and everything. So not only is BP and its cohort of multinational oil industry barons at fault, but so is the government. So once again, government fascism in bed with corporations for the interests of the corporations, not the people, which is fascism. That's what it is. Although fascism also entails a dictator. So, I mean, I remember we did a show with Dr. Carpenter, Antonella Carpenter, who's Italian, so she knows a little bit about fascism, you know, coming from that background. Literally, she's from Italy. She was from Naples,
so
right?
She knows Mussolini.
Yeah, so my point is being that it is true, fascism, we talk about the fascist nation and fascist country, and she did make a very good point, and it's valid, that it does require a dictator. It's more like communism if you have some ruling body that's doing all these things that are similar. However, it's like a hybrid.
They're more about corporate.
Yeah, it's like a hybrid
interest.
This thing is like a hybrid. What we're under, this new world order. It's a hybrid. It's a combination because obviously they're all puppets.
Yeah.
They're puppets. Whoever's running, the show or behind the scenes, you're not going to see their hands or their heads or anything else. They're hiding behind.
Yeah, we just see the people who are taking orders.
Yeah, they hide behind the people who supposedly Obama's making his decision.
Right.
He's deciding. All of this stuff. So yeah,
that guy don't get to decide what he wears every day.
Yeah,
that guy don't decide nothing.
Nothing is decided. It's all pre-planned.
Try to live, you know it, they show it, they always take and they will never give up. Not gonna be the only one who has something to say before they take me away. It's written in their lives, every word they say, they want to take your the preachers, the teachers, they work so hard and they don't get no pay. The lawyers, the government, they always want to bring it down to die. I'm not the one who's playing a game. I've got news for you now. I'm gonna take you with me. It's written in their lives. Everywhere
Listening to We Are Change Connecticut on projectfreedom.ws with Howard Nema and my co-host Vinny Bdatruth. Had a good show back here. Feels good to get back in the swing of things. Moving along. We were talking about this CDC issue with the fact that the vaccines are affecting these baby monkeys. Now I know listeners to Project Freedom are aware of all the problems associated with vaccinations, and certainly a lot of the shows, like Bob does great shows with about the true spirit and keeping the body healthy without adding all of these poisons to one's bloodstream. And it's amazing that they're finally having a little bit of help, because I guess numbers, strength in numbers. International Meeting for Autism Research. After all, I'm sure they're trying to get doctors in there to work for the drug companies to give phony information. But as this continues to happen and more people are affected by it, how can you not realize or recognize that this is the root cause? I mean, what else has happened? Where when I was a child, I think there were 5 vaccines or 6 vaccines that were given throughout your life, a small amount. Now they're upwards of 50. That's a tremendous difference. And again, what's in these things? Well, we know that there are toxic additives such as thimerosal, which has been phased out of a lot of things, but still is in all the flu shots. It's a mercury-based compound that's been phased out, as I mentioned, but it's still present in batch-sized influenza vaccines and some others. Also, they have administered the controversial MMR, which is where, again, my cousin Angela's son was stricken with autism after having that vaccine. Other people have. Friends of mine. I mean, I can honestly say that it is true. I know enough people to say I have several people I know that have autistic children, and I don't know what else to say. Did you remember that when you were a kid, that in your community, wherever you grew up, if you were in your 30s or 40s, that your friends had these children with autism? Of course not. Because why? They weren't doing this intentionally. In 1968, the Rockefeller Foundation actually published their annual report, and in it, it stated that they needed to find a way to help with the population problem that was so popular in 1968 when the founding of the Club of Rome. by Alexander King and Aurelio Passet, who was the Fiat magnate, Fiat cars. And they were, of course, Agenda 21 sort of had its seeding in the Club of Rome. And then, of course, the sprouts of that were the Rio Summit in 1991, and now we're having Rio 20, which is, again, Agenda 21, population reduction. So, in 1968, the Rockefeller Foundation published their annual report and stated that they needed to figure out a way to piggyback with these vaccines, sterilants and other additives that could be put into them. And by 1985, which now plays a good timing role into what's happened in the recent past, is that they discovered, or I should say they were at the point where their research has proven that they can put these sterilants into the vaccines and piggyback these things stealthily, and they will be able to be employed. So sometime after that is when this started to happen, to be actually put into the drug companies, the Pfizer and Merck mostly, with the vaccines. Again, Rockefeller Foundation funded companies. And since 1985, these sterilants and other adjuncts have been added to these many, many new vaccines that they come up with. So it is really doesn't take, a rocket scientist to put two and two together and see that there's a correlation. The fact that they say there's absolutely no correlation just shows how ridiculously fraudulent and, wicked these people are. I don't care what research you believe, you can just use your common sense. If someone was to show you a perfectly healthy child, and on thousands and thousands of occasions, the same story, this child was perfect, he had his shots, and then this all happened, and to say it's a coincidence. And what about the reactions? When they say that there really are no reactions, they don't count the reactions where you call your doctor, and your doctor says, oh, just give him some Tylenol and he'll be fine because he has a little fever. A fever is a reaction. Unless he goes to the hospital.
They tell you it's normal.
They tell you it's normal.
Because a lot of people I know have gotten sick and
they tell you it's normal.
Oh, that's a normal reaction.
Normal reaction. That's exactly what they say. They say that exactly.
Yep.
And
it's normal to get very sick.
And it's true. And that, unless they go to a hospital and make a report, you bring the child to the hospital, it's not a stat. So they keep those numbers down intentionally, and I know this because looking back in my own, again, I was unfortunately unaware of the vaccine issue until my son was, 9 years old, so he unfortunately was given most of these vaccines, and I really feel terrible about that. And I gotta tell you, if anything ever happened, down the road, like with cancer and things like that, you got to wonder because of all the things that have historically happened. Thank God he doesn't have autism. Thank God that it didn't affect him that way. But he was given these poisons, and I remember very conclusively. And my wife, who literally took written down records, she has notes of his childhood, and I kid you not, she had a book with a date book for, and it goes. She has all of them going back, and would write everything. Doctor appointments, what he had to have, everything. Amazing records. And he had a reaction after one of these vaccines, and I remember specifically. Now, Dr. Sawicki, his doctor, said, oh, it's nothing, it's normal, everything's fine, just give him some Tylenol and he'll be okay. And sure enough, he was okay. And that is an example of he had a reaction to it. Of course he did. To say that that there was no reaction is just not realistic. They don't count it unless that you go a serious reaction. Like you see these pictures of the children that are all blown up and pussed up because of these terrible reactions. That's the worst case. But what about the light case? How does that affect your brain and your development? Does it maybe give you this ADHD, which is on the rise? I mean, these are all things everyone has to realize, that it's not just autism. And multiple sclerosis is also on the rise. ADHD is on that. Asperger's it's also a form of autism.
Yeah.
These things are all on the rise.
One thing I was going to add is and to add to that too is, then there's a lot of people that know, like us now, and are trying not to have their kids vaccinated, and they're being bullied by the CPA and the schools. Now, I had a friend, Omar, I talked about one of the first shows I was on, who I told him and his girlfriend about this stuff a while ago. So they had a 1 and a 2-year-old, and they weren't vaccinating it, and eventually the CPA got involved. CPS got involved, and he had to take the kids down, and later that night the kid had 102 something fever and was rushed to the hospital, and they say, oh, it's normal. That was the one. Today at the meeting I met Hank, from WeSeeYou1984.com with the shirts. He's sitting there talking to Jim and all of us about how he's fighting with them because he's refusing to vaccinate his son, and the schools and the CPS are like, you better vaccinate. Alec, another member, talked about it, them vaccinating the son when he was trying to, fight that, and them calling him conspiracy nut and shooting up his kid. I've talked about I'm going to be having a kid, and I've already filled out the papers, and this is what I was trying to tell Hank and everyone is, it's religious. You don't even have to say, you're Jehovah's Witness or whatever you are. You just have to fill out a paper. You can print it out, and it says, for my religious beliefs. Because of my religious beliefs, like if you were Jehovah's Witness or whatever, I don't believe in shooting up my kid with any of these unnatural things. Now, the one that me and my girl filled out is for the 3 shots when the minute my baby's born, they want to shoot it up with hepatitis B, which is a sexually transmitted disease, which I don't see any reason why my baby should be shot up with a sexually transmitted disease. Another one was the vitamin K, where they actually shoot it into your baby's eyeball, into its pupil, to give it vitamin K, because it doesn't have enough vitamin K when it's first born. What did everybody do for thousands of years? Like, their kids were born without vitamin K shot into their eyeballs. So there was like a couple of things, and there was a third one I don't remember. But religious views, nothing unnatural. You cannot shoot up your kid, and this is legal.
Oh,
you can do this. They can't force you to.
Yes, it's still not a fascist Nazi country.
They try to intimidate and scare you, but fill out the paperwork. You can do it.
It's sort of like that's the same thing. It's like any type of resistance. Like look at this. How many people would do like what we do, and then they get hit with the kind of resistance we got hit with, and we just say, fuck this. I don't need this in my life. I've got my, it's too much. That's what they count on.
Yeah.
So that's what they count on with this, with the vaccines. They count on bullying you. And then if you say no, what are they going to do? Then you know what happens? If you push back, they stop pushing. Because they know they can't do anything. So they let you do it. It's like, it's the same thing like when you're dealing with, like when Vinny talks about the police, because like, you could say that it's like we have a good cop, bad cop thing. I'm like the good cop and he's like the bad cop because he doesn't like any cops at all. So I sort of like, I mean, I have friends that are police officers and,
that's why you like them.
Because it's like, and also I believe that they're not all bad. And obviously most of them are really not. But the new ones they want to recruit, and this is stuff I've talked about with friends like the Oath Keepers and everything, is that they are trying to recruit bad cops, and look,
and ex-military,
but the bad ones, the ones they really have them profiled for this because
they had no problem kicking doors in Iraq and going door to door.
Exactly.
Breaking,
if they fit the criteria, they'll take a little assessment test. If they fit this criteria and what their deployments were, they're perfectly suited for whatever it is that these because it's coming down from above. It really is. I don't know how they obviously do it through minions, but I'm still trying to get the whole structure of it. Like, well, the way that they actually get to these local departments and local, like when we fight the Agenda 21 and having them coming into all these individual, they come into individual towns and cities and individual areas across the world, basically. But in here in the United States, they do this in all these areas, and they come in and they get you to vote into get money referendums to put forth this protocol to be green and all of this. I mean, how do they pull this off? And then you're saying, I could understand why some folks would say that's crazy. How could anyone do that? Because it is an immense achievement,
operation.
And it really is. But it's really controlled. and very, very easy to see once you start hitting against it. Like I said, if you resist against it or you hit some points that they don't want recognized, boy, you're going to get some attacks. And I really find it to be what I'm trying to narrow in on is how they manage to do it. So it must be
the
through
small pieces on the top.
It's the small. Well, the pieces on the top are giving out the orders, as we know.
Yeah.
And
trickles down.
at our local level, like we're sitting here right in Torrington right now, okay, in Connecticut, right here, there is a Skull and Bone member, or there's somebody.
Or a Mason.
Or a Mason. In fact, you know, it was in the newspaper the other day. I should have saved it. A black gentleman passed away. He was about 85 years old, all right? He was a former school bus driver, interestingly enough, retired, lived in East Hartford. He was a 33rd degree Mason. And it's written in his obituary as such, with a Masonic symbol on the obituary. So you can look back in the Current about a week or so. It's only about a week or so in the Hartford Current. And you would see it because you can't miss it, because you very rarely would see a very big, bold Masonic square and compass. Yeah.
Okay.
And it said clear out that he was a 33rd degree Mason. Interestingly enough. So then look at this: a bus driver, an African American bus driver, is a 33rd degree Mason. So what I'm trying to illustrate is somehow they must, through the organization, have these minions in all of these. Maybe it's through the temples. Maybe it is through, like, the old school way of doing it would be through the Masonic temples.
Yeah.
Because how else could they convey information? There was no internet. There was no phones. You know, there was messengers. In fact, if it wasn't for the lightning strike, we wouldn't even know about the Illuminati. Isn't that true?
That is.
Right? Lightning strike of the rider with
the carrier.
The carrier of the Masonic, the Illuminati papers. Yeah. So I mean, history is interesting and it's real. But what's most important is that this is, like, critical to understand so that you can see what's happening. And what scares me, like, from the beginning of the show when we were talking, is what's happening right now.
Everything
drills,
we were warned about.
Everything we were warning about. Really, all these drills are accelerating. These Homeland Security drills
like
as
you
well.
said, when William Cooper and everybody was saying it 20 years ago, it seemed like, it's going to be a while before that happens. Well, here it is now, 20 years later, and we're watching it unfold all around us.
And the media is just totally, like, complicit in it, and then everybody's just like, and then the way that the mind control is so good about it is, like, if you look at the shows, I mean, they have everything's going according to Hoyle. They have all their the popular shows everybody's watching, and then they always make plans for this, and this movie's coming out in 2013, and look out for that, and
the new movie now that was big, The Avengers. Everybody's talking about.
Yeah, The Avengers. Yeah.
Oh my God, I seen a clip in it, and what was it? Right in that movie, so much propaganda. One of the things right away, of course, I did not spend $1 and go to the movie theaters to watch this, but I seen one of the things. And they're just like, yeah, we got tracking devices and all the cell phones, all the things, all this and that, computers, blah blah. So we could track the person down. And they're just admitting, like, all the big brother spying, the military, the propaganda of war, and the minute I was, like, seeing the things, I turned, I looked at my girl, I said, oh, this is so a lot of people join up in the military. You could see it was for, like, teenagers, to, like, how great the military is.
Look at the SEAL movie. It was exactly the same thing with the SEAL movie, which would have the real Navy SEALs. It was just
to get you to think how great it is and sign up, get your kids into believing it. G.I. Joe and all this, and go to war.
It was just unbelievable.
It is like a video game.
Oh, the games, the video games, they teach the kids how to kill. It's terrible.
Call of Duty, man. that hundreds of thousands play or millions play.
It's really,
and it has all the symbols in that.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Look at every city, every major city. They have a pyramid building, and a Molech building, and I check it out. Look what I mean. In New York City, there's more than one pyramid building. In Philadelphia, there's many pyramid buildings. Look at that architectural. When you look over the landscape skyline of Philadelphia. And then the Molech building, a building that looks like Molech, the owl at the Bohemian Grove. Major cities, Chicago, there's the actual Molech building.
Washington, D.C. has an owl built into it.
Yes. It is real, it is there, and it is absolutely undeniable. that you never notice it. I lived in New York all my life. I drove into the city a couple of weeks back, and I took pictures. I couldn't believe it. How much is there? And I never know. I lived 38 years, 39 years in New York, my whole life. And I never noticed these symbols. The Chrysler Building, it's got little pyramids. The whole design is little pyramids, if you look real close, going up. The windows and everything. These buildings had all these little messages, all these little symbols, symbology. And again, going back to the Egyptian, it's that Egyptian sacred geometry.
Yep. That the Masons have held for a long time.
That's exactly it. Really, really, really amazing.
The Masons were the ones chosen to be the builders of cities, as the ancient thing goes.
Yep.
They were the children of Nassau.
Pam
That's where
Suggs
Mason comes from.
Had wanted from UnitedTruthSeekers.com. I haven't given a shout out to them. Of course, she had wanted us to do a whole show on the Masons. We should.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we should do one because I know we got a lot of information on that, and she's been wanting to get us to do it. So I'd certainly will appease you there, Pam. So we'll be doing that in the future, or at least a good long segment on it.
I'll try to get that book from 1812.
Yeah, that would be real interesting, and we could read from it, and that'd be awesome. And so then we'll get that book on.
See what Mason's written down 200 years ago.
Yep.
In this book.
And, of course, we have truthbroadcastnetwork.com. I want to give a thanks out to Harry Link, who's been, again, religiously broadcasting our show for a very long time. Thank you again. And thanks out to Pam Suggs, UnitedTruthSeekers.com. Of course, D2NW.com, D2NWO.com, DeathToNewWorldOrder.com. The audio goes there as well. And I want to thank, of course, Bobby Kay for helping us through this great transition that we're coming to. Thank you again, Bobby. You're at projectfreedom.ws, and you're listening to projectfreedom.ws until informedradio.com can get our servers back online. But it won't be long, and we will...
And what about our boy Roger Landry? How's Roger doing?
Roger has been so busy.
He's always doing big stuff, I know.
He's doing big stuff. Nothing I'm going to reveal yet. I haven't spoken. To be honest, I haven't spoken to him in 2 weeks. But he must be very busy. I'm sure I can call him and he'd answer my phone call. But I did want to get together with him about the servers. But he is busy getting the television station network. Television network is really the right word to use, not a station. Television network and the radio broadcasting affiliates stations. It's going to be big. It's a lot of countries and all of that. And
very exciting.
And he said about 45 days. So maybe he's just been so busy with it. It's been a good couple of weeks. So I'm thinking maybe that's coming closer. But Pam has been happily doing a lot of work on the We the People Network.com. That's WPTnetwork.com. That's the website for the We the People Network, and she's got a nice setup there with her page. I have been very lax in it just because I'm so spread so thin, But we do have to put a little more effort. I got to actually make her an administrator, and she could probably get a lot of the work done. And I know that you will, Pam, and thanks. So I will do that. I've just been so behind everything with a lot of different stuff going on. But other than that, I think we've
like
had
to say hi to Sherry Cannon Hall.
Oh yeah, let's give a... Yeah.
Sorry we missed you guys out in Long Island.
Yeah, they came down
Hope
to Long
everything
Island,
went well.
and we couldn't make it down.
I was looking forward to that. Hopefully
that would have
we'll
been
get an
great.
opportunity again soon.
To see you when you come to this side of the coast again, if you're here. Yeah, give a shout out to
Barbara Hartwell. Hope
Barbara
you're doing
Hartwell.
good.
I'm sure she's doing well. She always tunes in and is always welcome to join in, just so she knows. But everyone too, anyone. Right now, unfortunately, you can only join by Skype, but we'll get back to the number thing and getting that working out. It seems the phone wasn't, I don't know, having some issues with that, but
okay.
But it was it's good to sort of just get back to the normalcy of things. It was good to do the news and get some commentary out, which I haven't done, or we haven't done in a long time. And it's overdue, and there's a lot of bad stuff going on. And they just, everyone's watching sports and, hanging out at the bar. And, You know, and I'm all for that. I'm looking to, you know, take the band on the road, but I also intend while I'm out there to talk to, you know, let a lot of people know what we're doing, and
it's got to be a mix. I mean,
you got to mix your, well, you got to have a balance in life.
None of us are 100% doing this because you'd go crazy.
You couldn't.
You got to find your mixture of pleasure and research, and you know.
It takes a long time, though, what we do. I mean, the research alone...
And you'll go crazy,
you know,
if this is all you do. I think we've all felt that and been there where you get obsessed with this. Yeah. You've probably all had those things where you've gone weeks or whatever where you're just involved in research and, you know... So
you know, again...
Gotta find the fun things to do, too, you know? We're serious, we're fighting the New World Order, but we also gotta find time to have fun with your family, your friends, and...
Well, that's another way that they're, you know, if you don't, you have to have that. That's what we're fighting for. That's it. I mean, so it is funny because I know I have been accused of being, you know, sort of compulsive with this or whatever, you know, but I'll tell you, listen, I've been married for 21 years to a beautiful woman, and I have a beautiful 13-year-old son who's brilliant. We worked in the garden the other day, putting it together for the season. You know, he's a wide-awake child. He does his own research. I don't lead him anywhere. He knows what he knows. He's learned what he learned. I'm very proud of him. And, you know, he's not out there to tell people about the New World Order, but he knows about it.
He's got his eye on him.
He's got his eye on him, and he knows, and he's very bright about that. Now, other people, you know, you have to do what's good for you. I mean, if you're listening now and this is just so that you want to help yourself to understand, that's fine. You know, not everybody is an activist. Not everybody's trying to really, you know, be active because of many reasons. You know, we put ourselves out here because, I don't know,
we're crazy.
I guess. Well,
we have no fear. That's my reasoning.
We have no fear. A lot of people have fear. They have,
which is understandable.
But also, I think the fear aspect is not even so much fear of the government or fear of, you know, the CIA.
Ridicule from your friends and family.
I think it's fear of ridicule by friends and family.
Mean, to be honest, that's probably the toughest thing I've felt in the past years is when you put so much time, your heart in this, and then for your own family and people to, you know, laugh at or, you know, make fun of you and just not listen, that upsets me more than probably anything in what we're doing.
I think you're right. I know one thing, though, and it's very, very gratifying. I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, the radio stuff's been going on for recently. It's only been since October, last October. But I know in the beginning it was like there were people that I know were seeing what I was doing and didn't understand what I was doing. And little by little, I'm getting comments from people that were very silent for a very long time. And it's gratifying to sort of get people to now chime in on certain subjects, like maybe food or so at least they're, you know, that over time you can make people understand what's happening, but it's not something that's going to happen quickly. Like that's when it just like again, I'm sure when most of my friends and family, it's like my friend Mark, my closest friend in the world, my best friend, best man at my wedding. You know, it's like I just tend to think that he thinks maybe that I lost it a little bit. Because I've had some deep conversations with him recently, or not too long ago, and he seems to be a little busy, and that could be that he's busy, but a little distant, and I think that it's you know, people can misinterpret what your, you know, passion for insanity, you know, but what we're doing is so important. And it's affecting so many people.
I think by us doing this too, another thing where we help others is we give others more confidence to start talking openly about it.
Right, that it doesn't...
The fact that we just...
Yeah.
To the whole world we're saying these things.
Yeah, it's on record. We're going on record. We're literally going on...
We give others confidence to speak out too now.
To speak out, to go on record. That's what we need to do so that there's a history here. Because, you know, there's a memory hole they want to have. They want to create a memory hole. They want everybody to forget about certain things. They want to rewrite history and have you believe it. And they're doing a good job. These history books don't include anything. And as we go farther and farther into this digital age, Okay? The written word, the paper, is at risk.
History's going to be on Kindle soon.
Yeah, Kindles. History on
Kindles.
Kindles, right. It's at risk of being, that's why, like, paper ballots we're talking about, it's not just the fact that it's on paper, but it is, I guess, the fact that it's on paper. That there's a record of something. This is a visual record. This is an audio visual record. Okay, that hopefully will be here forever.
Yeah.
So that 20 years from now, and I pray that it's a beautiful world we live in, and that we're all here, listening, that we're all here, whoever's listening and watching, that the world is a better place, but it also lends a testament to setting the understanding that things have happened. I mean, it's like, let's use some of the people that have used in history have proven things to be true, like Bill Cooper. Having history look back and look at what he's said and did, and look at what's happened. And the same thing is like
documented,
and he documented, and he couldn't put his time schedule on it like we can't. I mean, I know Vinny's thinking the end of the year, now it looks like it could be this month because of all the stuff going on with this craziness in all these different things happening in America at once, including this whole relationship between Berkshire Hathaway and the Canadian Railways, and all this troops in Denver, and all this really weird stuff going on. But you have to have a testament, and it has to be something that, if anything occurs, you can look back and say, he was wrong, or he was right. Because Bill Cooper wasn't always right, but he was right about a lot of things. And it wasn't just Bill Cooper. I mean, you can look at Eustace Mullins, who's many conversations about stuff he said in the 90s. I mean, totally is coming to fruition. You can't put your time schedule on it. But look at, again, John Birch Society, for those that like or dislike them. They have various commentaries. Again, a lot of COINTELPRO on that end about them. A lot of people trying to control, manipulate that society. But what Welch said in that speech that's like famous from like 1958 or 1960, it actually came true. Everything that he said that was going to happen did actually come true, as far as our price of our goods are going to go get too cheap in other countries, and there's not going to be any work here, and all of our labor is going to go overseas, and all of these other things that he was talking about, and the government's going to become like a communist government. Well, I mean, it's arguably a communist government. We were just talking about this. I mean, it's arguably communist. I mean, you cannot call this a republic any longer. Just because there's these puppet votes, these puppets, you go and you vote. Who even knows if it's real anyway? I mean, we're becoming like a banana republic where the elections are fraud. Ron Paul's elections, where they prove they're fraud, no one's saying nothing. No one's doing anything. Using the grand jury maybe to, get precincts? I don't know. Nothing's happening. We just have this constant barrage in the media about these issues, like that. I don't know, that Mitt Romney was a bully when he was in high school. I mean, who fucking cares about that?
Yep.
I mean, Mitt Romney, it's like, so then why don't you just say, well, Obama dated a princess when he was an intern at the Council on Foreign Relations, living on 114th Street in New York City, in Spanish Harlem. Did you know that? Yeah, that's right. There are pictures of him, too, and everything with this chick. A princess. So I guess he had no connections.
Just a regular guy.
Just a regular guy. Every regular black man that goes, dates a princess when they're doing their college internship. Yeah. Anyway, a little sarcasm there. But just to show you how this whole thing is really a rigged game to the top and bottom. But it doesn't mean we can't fight it. It doesn't mean we can't stop it. It doesn't mean we can't resist it. And certainly doesn't mean we can't alert other people to it. Because if you're like me, I was asleep. I was a perfect sheeple, man. I was a very content soul. I thought that things were more in my control than they were. I thought I had more freedom than I really did. I didn't look at freedom the same way I look at it now, although I was always a patriotic American, as I would consider myself. Always had a lot of flags around the house. It wasn't just, now they're backwards because the country's backwards. So don't think that I don't know that's backwards. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, you're a... No, it's there for a reason. And I hope one day I can turn it around. And, you know, we're almost, you know, we're in distress here, okay? This is a country that's in distress. And I never realized why. I thought that it was really like, you know, well, the rich people, the Republicans are for the rich, and the Democrats are for the you know, the working class, and fight for the working class. So that was my position. And, you know, and then when I started realizing, it's like, well, it's like, you know, everything has to be for everybody's benefit instead of people just allowing themselves to seek their own goals. Now, I realize that because I resisted things too in my life, but not understanding why. It's because I don't want to fit the cookie cutter mold. And I had a lot of struggle. I was like, you know, you ever find yourself swimming upstream? Mm-hmm. I swam upstream a lot. Now, I managed to do well in my life, I guess, up to, you know, standards of, I'm 45, I've done a lot of stuff. I got some things, you know, I mean, whatever. Life's not too bad. It could be worse. But it was never easy. And I always put it to, well, you know, that's because it's never easy because we're all swimming upstream. So no matter how much you've got, if you got 2 cars and a house and, you know, whatever, you know, you can't tell me that it's not like swimming upstream to pay for that. Mm-hmm. Or whatever you have. Everybody's swimming upstream, and the current's getting stronger.
More taxes, more regulations.
Yes.
More bigger foot on your neck. Yeah.
Yes.
Like you said, yeah, it's fighting upstream.
And the others that don't fight, go with the flow and accept whatever meager stuff they have and fall into this, like, little world of uselessness and become, for lack of a better word, useless eaters, as these elite call them. And they want you to be a useless eater so they can get rid of you.
Bunch of goyim.
Bunch of goyim, yeah, exactly. And I hate to say it, but that's, you know, and again, we don't want to sound, you know, racist here, but, you know, these elite, some of them really have a grasp on perceptions, people's perceptions, so they know how to manipulate, and that's a great way to describe what they do. Machiavellian. Again, I was reading some you know, something about Led Zeppelin, right? And obviously Led Zeppelin, big connection to the occult and all of that with Jimmy Page. Mm-hmm. Page actually said, when he was asked, you know, who in history would you want to be? He didn't say Aleister Crowley, although Crowley was a big influence on his life, and probably some of his, there's some sort of a connection between his family somehow. There's got to be some connection with Page. It wasn't. Yeah, just,
you've talked about this with me and on the show. I was really interested.
It wasn't just a. It wasn't. It's probably not just a. I mean, his parents did have. They had a very. He came from actually a similar background to me. He was an only child. His parents were more or less middle class people. They weren't wealthy, and he was discovered. You know, but he embraced this Masonic element without. I mean, right away, and clearly might have been brought in as a Mason. I mean, there's no records, and it doesn't exist anything that he, you know, that he is a Mason. But all indications are that he's involved with the Masons, probably, or is at least aligned with them.
Well, I mean, if you find out Michael and all of them were, I mean, there's nothing to doubt.
Well, you know, but
Justin Bieber's probably a Mason now. So.
You know, I mean, you know, I'm just saying that not that it had anything to do with it, but it wasn't just because of that. But he said that the person that he most wanted to be was Machiavelli. Now, Machiavelli, if you know who he was the master manipulator. So he was. Or is Jimmy Page? Of course, is still. You know, he is certainly not somebody that wasn't a manipulator to get what he needed to get and get what he wanted. And then you look at the history of Zeppelin, probably my favorite band of all time. You know, and things that has happened, and you know, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of mystery and shadows and all of this, but they were known as the fans were known as the Secret Society. That's what they were the secret society, and they actually hated the New World Order, which is interesting. They sort of fought against it, if you go against, like, for example, the Exchequer in London, and you know that all these rock stars, Jagger, and they all had to, they couldn't spend more than a certain amount of time in England, because if they did, they would have to pay these ridiculous taxes. Like, they would be like taxed on like 90% of their income, which was lots and lots of money, right? So they would have to leave. It's called being a tax exile, and they'd have to leave the countries and go to like Jersey, which was an island that's off the coast that they could stay there, or go to America, or wherever they wanted to go. But they had to leave on a specific schedule. So Robert Plant would always like sort of make fun of the founding Bilderberg member, one of the founding Bilderberg members, which the Exchequer, Dennis Healy. He was the Exchequer of the tax collector, and he would always offer, like when they would do a song or something like "In My Time of Dying," he would dedicate to the Exchequer, you know, and play the song and all of that. So I think he was taking a stab at the elite. They bucked the trend. They were the only band that owned everything. They were the only band that got 90% of the gate. And this is, by the way, in history. No one's ever done this, and no one's ever done it since. They got all the money. They were against the grain. They were not, despite all the people like Fleetwood Mac and all these bands that were in the 70s, that everyone, you know, that got all the promotion. Led Zeppelin had their little secret society, outsold them tremendously. And that's a fact. So I'm a little getting into the Zeppelin thing, but I don't know. But I think it's interesting to just close on the fact that that's what these New World Order people are. They're Machiavellian controllers. So maybe we could be Machiavellian in our efforts to dethrone them and use some persistence that pays. And I know that persistence pays because I've seen it work. So you just can't stop the fight. And we all love you here at We Are Change Connecticut, and Vinny and myself want to thank you all for joining us. And I think we have Ronnie Bennick and Chris Honeyfield. I think you're actually online here, guys, are you? You out there? Oh, maybe not yet. Okay, but we have Outside the Margins coming up right now. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And death to the New World Order.